I've got
Doing
like a
good. I
serious
had 2
case of
cups
the
of tea and I'm
butterflies.
not scared.
Oh, dude, I should have made a tea. I had orange juice.
That kind of counts.
Yeah, I guess.
Put the
I
orange
don't
juice in
know.
the microwave for a couple seconds. That sounds like a bad idea. Don't do that. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But maybe next time.
Welcome to everybody both in the chat and in the call.
Hello
Thank you
and welcome.
all for joining us. So this is our third out of 6 podcasts that we're doing for the 15th anniversary of the SquareSoft and Enix merger.
That's a lot better.
Woo! I felt like that was a cheer moment and nobody really did anything.
So I'm really excited.
A little bit.
With us we have Twin Pools.
Hello. Okay, I'm paranoid. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
You're
we can
coming out
actually hear you.
Okay, thank God.
And you're showing up in the recording too, so.
Great.
And NipahDUBS.
Hi, it's actually pronounced NipahDUBS. It's a common error. It's fine.
NipahDUBS.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no,
But
you're good.
now I won't get it wrong for the rest of the podcast. And Gazzi.
That's me. Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
I am either Via or Lee, depending on who you are asking. And we also have Van, who also goes by Guile. He's the one with Reno being kicked in the face.
It's almost hypnotic to watch that GIF over and over again.
It
I
really
know,
is.
right? My
In the
eye
face.
keeps going down there. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, hello, Reno.
Everyone else has cosplay pictures of themselves, and it's just me over here getting kicked in the face repeatedly.
Well, you know what? I think you're winning because that is clearly the most eye-catching of all of the icons.
That
It
is
really
very
is.
true. We're all watching the GIF now and not even paying attention.
Guess it's 9:59, so one more minute to go.
One more minute, and then we'll technically be 100% on time.
Oh, my phone clock is wicked, slow then. Wow.
Yeah, it is 12:59 on both my computer and both of my phones, because I have also in the chat there is Berry Boy, and that is just my other phone that's attached to the recording device. So.
I feel like we're waiting for New Year's.
Yeah.
Oh, just for midnight.
Down
Down.
Happy Cosplay New Year.
Yay!
Woo!
1 year older.
Yeah, the year of the Square Enix.
You're closer to death.
Oh no. That got dark.
That got dark really quickly.
Sorry to bring it down, everyone.
No, it can't be New Year. Kingdom Hearts comes out this year.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Got at least.
We
live
can
through
die
this year.
after that. After that, we get to play
And
it,
then
and
we're allowed
then
to
we
die
can
happy.
die. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, way to really bring it down at the beginning, everyone.
I know, right? Boom, we can only go up from here.
when we did the Quinton Flynn interview last week, we interviewed with Quinton Flynn for the podcast, and no joke, 4 questions in, he decided to tell the story of when he found a dead body, and that changed the tone of the interview from that moment on.
Oh,
now the gore cast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Downer cast.
Well,
We're very
hey.
Years of Square Enix can do that to you.
Yeah. I just saw somebody mention in the comments how they're nervous and shaking, and I don't think you have anything to be nervous about. It's all chill here. No need to be nervous or worried. Just a casual chat. I know by saying that doesn't make you not nervous, but just wanted to throw it out there.
It's like that thing where it's you just need to relax, and it's saying just relax doesn't make you want to relax.
Can't possibly embarrass yourself.
Just think we're in a giant
chill.
Skype or Discord call.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're a friend.
So-
It's okay.
Relax, get casual, drink some OJ.
Drink some warm orange juice.
Oh, no.
Warm orange juice sounds really distressing. Is that what you said?
This
That's
reminds me of when I said about microwaving, not microwave, when I have hot blackcurrant juice, and these guys were all telling me I was gross. I was like, no, it's lovely.
You are gross. That's ugh.
No, you boil the kettle, put some water in your cup, pour some blackcurrant juice in there, good to go. It's awesome.
As someone who's from Florida, that sounds awful.
Oh, I don't know. I'm British. Maybe it's just a weird thing to
I
hear.
guess it's like a tea thing, maybe. A very sweet tea. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just when it's cold, which is like most of the time here.
Yeah, I feel
I've
that.
never actually had it, so I'll just take Gazzi's word for it as the British guy.
The designated British guy in the call. I like it.
So I have a couple of questions that were asked ahead of time by people who weren't going to be able to make it. So I'm going to start with those and sort of roll into anything that the chat wants to talk about, or if we end up on a tangent, then we'll go from there. It's pretty low key. So the first question, it's a pretty good springboard, is who was your personal cosplay idol? Because, you guys are cosplay inspirations for quite a few people, but I'm curious who inspired you guys.
Oh
Do you
boy.
want to order, I guess?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Oh, I was just wondering if we wanted to go in some kind of like set order. That way, like all the questions could go back and forth, or we just wanted to have a big discussion.
I just say that because I'm trying to delay my answer. So yeah, I'll just be thinking for a
to
second.
think.
Yeah.
I guess I can go first. I guess I've had a couple. One of the first ones I ran into were probably Gen X the Jinx. They used to make a series on YouTube called Demix Time, and they had Parlay
Yes.
Productions and all this other stuff. And it was one of my first introductions to seeing someone cosplay because I was really into Kingdom Hearts in like middle school and whatnot, and still now, of course. But yeah, they were probably one of the first cosplayers that I saw that like were like an active one. Like when I could see, it wasn't a picture, it was a video. It was really, he was really inspiring. Um, yeah, Kelly Jane also, who played Axel for the show, and like they played every role. They were just amazing to watch. Besides them, there was, as someone who specializes in wigs, and I'm constantly working on wigs, Ryuko Demon is a cosplayer who's been around for a long time, and she's really known for her wig. Her and Melinda Chan, who, if you've looked up any wig tutorial and found one, you probably have found Melinda's tutorial
Oh.
at some point.
We
She's
used Melinda's glued hairline tutorial for my Axel wig.
Yeah, that's the same thing I did for mine. She's absolutely a wizard and such like a guru in her craft, and I absolutely love her to death. And I'm like fortunate enough to be rather good friends with her now. And I'm still, even though I'm like friends with her, I'm still awestruck every time I see her work on anything. She's fantastic. And it's also embarrassing to say that I also looked up to a certain group called Fighting Dreamers Production. You might have heard of them.
Oh, I'm so
Oh,
sorry
yes.
that we influenced you in any way. I apologize. Thank you. That's
No, you're good. You're good. And if, but yeah, it's just to name a few. Those are definitely people who inspire me.
oh,
I think
that's
it's
so
really
sweet.
cool
Thank you.
because the same again with like Demix Time and stuff. I used to watch them on YouTube, and I was like, this looks like so much fun. And yeah, well, I was going to Comic-Con with some friends that year, and I decided that, I want to have a go at doing this cosplay thing that all the cool kids seem to be doing. So yeah, like I would say that just like Dubs, it would be the same kind of influence. Jen and Kelly are incredible, and like all the videos, if you haven't seen them, I would definitely recommend that you watch them because they are quite funny, and I love them. Yeah, so I'd say that got me into it. I did Sora, and it was terrible, but they kind of like gave me that confidence and wanted me, I wanted to keep going, and I think a lot of that was due to them. They're really lovely people to meet too. If you ever had
Shinya
the chance.
said that Jen goes by Jack now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I cannot remember what his name was now. Thank you so much.
I think for me, like, cause yeah, so back in the day, definitely sort of saw and watched. My phone exited out there. Jack and Kelly as well, and Melinda Chan. I think like just echoing her work, like huge inspiration. I love looking at her wigs and her cosplay work, and just such like an authentic, humble, lovely person, which I really appreciate. Yeah, I think like meeting her was a huge like cosplay goals moment for me for sure. And yeah, I mean, like there were a lot of groups that I don't think are really around anymore. There was one from Texas called like JAC Productions. I don't think they do anything anymore, but they were the first group I saw anywhere who was doing like videos and performances in cosplay. And as like a grade 12 weirdo who liked this dressing up thing, it was really cool to see people doing it like unapologetically and just like cosplaying like out in public when I was like in my room only cosplaying in private. So for me it was huge seeing just people before cosplay became more like mainstream or known, people just like really unabashedly wearing their cosplay out in public and being really open and posting their stuff online, because for a long time it wasn't easy to find that stuff. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of JAC Productions, but I think they're probably my cosplay inspiration.
I feel like I definitely have, because it sounds familiar, but it's like you said, they're an older group, so.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I feel like I now have to go find them.
Well, because you're from Texas, right? Right, Nipah?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
I lived in Texas for 5 years, so I might have actually run into them.
Okay, yeah. I just wonder if they're still around.
I'd have to look. It does sound really familiar. I'd have to like if they probably go by different they probably go by solo aliases now. If I saw them, I would definitely know them. But yeah, now I have to go look them up.
It's a treasure hunt. Yeah.
Who can find the oldest cosplayer group?
It's a little bit funny, because I'm pretty sure then that each of us, our cosplay inspirations were Twin Fools and Nipah. Because Nipah, you were my cosplay inspiration. You were the one that gave me the confidence to cosplay Axel. I had wanted to cosplay Axel for literally 10 years.
Aww.
That's so sweet.
I stumbled across the picture that actually you have as your profile picture right now. I was looking at colored contacts. I was looking into colored contacts for a different cosplay, and I stumbled across that picture of yours on Tumblr. And I thought, I think maybe I'm good enough to do this now. So it was actually you.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm so glad.
That's kind of like poetic how it's full circle now, and now you're doing a Q&A with them. That's brilliant.
I might have screamed a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, I need a new Axel wig. I destroyed that one that's in my profile picture.
I went into a pool with mine.
You went in a pool with yours, did you say?
Oh.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. I went in because we were going to be converting that into a Reno wig, and I was going to be getting a new one, a new Axel wig. I decided that I was going to put like the whole like makeup and wig on, and then I jumped into a pool.
Oh my god, that's the most ceremonious, beautiful thing I've ever heard in my life.
I know, right?
It held up way too well.
A splash in this case.
I have a video somewhere, and it held up way too well. Like I was like diving underwater and stuff for like a solid 20 minutes before it like fell off of my head before it fully melted.
Isn't it funny how that happens when you want to destroy something, it like won't die, and then when you don't want something to break, it immediately breaks. Yeah.
That is so true.
That's we call that like Sod's Law here in the UK. Like when
Sod's Law?
Sod's Law, yeah, it's like you want something to happen, but it doesn't, and then when you don't want it to happen, it happens. It's like, ugh, Sod's Law.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start using that.
A really useful one.
Yeah, it's a nice little phrase.
So you guys have like such uplifting how I got into cosplay, and these are the people I was inspired by stories. I think that's pretty great.
I like how you got into cosplay to try and impress a girl.
Yeah, girl, tell us your story. I love this one. Tell us.
It's pretty
All right.
funny.
I love it.
So, I had a crush on a girl in high school, and she was a cosplayer. And I decided that the best way to get her attention was to be a better cosplayer. And I didn't get the girl, but now I'm addicted to cosplay, so, I mean, I got something out of it.
Oh,
Aw.
I mean, I think I've got a better one now, so we're good.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Happy ending.
beautiful. Yeah.
It all works out.
it all comes full circle.
The way I actually got into cosplay was I was actually tricked into cosplaying.
How?
Oh, that sounds like a story.
Yeah.
Sam.
Going to bounce off your story, in high school there was a convention going on. It was MegaCon, and back then MegaCon wasn't as big as it is today. It's just like this whatever convention. I've never heard of it. And my friend came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm going to MegaCon in next month, and I want to know if you could come with me because no one wants to go with me." I was just like, "Oh yeah, sure. What is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's a big anime thing, but there is a catch to it. In order to get into the event, you have to cosplay." And I'm like, "You have to?" And, yeah, they won't let you in unless you dress up. And I was like, okay. So I was like, that sounds legit. It's a costume event. And so she was explaining it to me. I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. So she was going to be Link, and she asked me to be Dark Link. And I was like, fine, let's do this. And so, of course, get to the con, literally 80% of the people there are not in cosplay. And I just kind of look at her. I'm just like, I thought you said that you had to be in cosplay to get in. And she's like, oh, no. I'm sorry, they changed the rule this year. Oh, I forgot to tell you. But you're already working on it. So, ooh, but hey, you're here.
They changed the rule this year. What a lie.
Oh, you got played. That is brilliant. I love that.
Back then, I was kind of like, great, I'm in like this awful Party City body paint, like face paint, which if you've ever tried the Party City kind, it does not dry. It's shiny, it's sticky, and it's awful. And no one knew what sealing your body paint was back then. No one knew about sealing the makeup, and so I was just this like blob of sticky mess, like a sticky shadow heartless walking around. But it started me out where I was, and I thank her for it. And the reactions I got from the con, everyone was so positive. Everyone was so excited to see us together in cosplay, and it was just a welcoming and warm experience that I continued going on. And here I am, like, oh my god, like 7-8 years later, 9 maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. I don't keep track anymore. But yeah, that's my story.
It's a good story.
I was so calculated about getting into cosplay. Like it took me like a good 6 months to like work up and plan like, okay, where I was going to go to cosplay for the first time and what I was going to wear and how I was going to do it. And it took me so long to like work up, like going from like cosplaying, like literally in my closet. Cause I was so, I mean, this is part of like nerd shame, right? Like I was ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know about my interests because I'd been made fun of my entire life for them. So, and then it was like from my closet to my room, and then I'd like pack up my cosplay in like a plastic bag and went to a cosplay meetup and like changed in like a bathroom downtown. It was like a scuzzy, disgusting bathroom into like sort of like half Naruto cosplay, and then like worked it up from there. But I was so like, okay, this is how I'm gonna get from where I am to like going to the cons I see all over YouTube. So it's funny how like for some folks like it's totally by accident, and then for some folks it's like a battle plan.
You had like a 12-stage plan.
Yeah, it was 12-step plan, but to do the thing.
I kind of like
A
just
12-step
jumped in
plan
head first.
in reverse.
Exactly, yeah.
And it'll take about 12 steps and years of rehab to get you out of it now.
Oh yeah, we're all in too deep, like lost causes. Yeah.
I feel like
fan base
when you
would
get
like
to
let
the-
us go if we wanted to.
That's true.
I think
That's
about that
true.
sometimes. Actually, I'm just like, how do I get out? Like, what happens? What happens if I want to to exit. Let's do like, is faking my own death is that a direction we have to go?
Perhaps a little extreme.
Fake your own death and resurface on the internet as a ghost with twin fools, but just written backwards.
Or like that singer. Does anyone remember that singer who was like, I think it was Garth Brooks, and then he became like an emo singer, but pretended he was somebody else? Does anyone else remember this?
Oh,
All I've got is Hannah Montana. Sorry.
Oh, well, it's the same difference.
A little different.
it's the same thing.
I'll just be Hannah Montana then.
Do it.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah.
Be Hannah Montana.
I'll just become Hannah Montana, and then I'll be free. So on the subject of on the tangent of joking about messing with our usernames, where did your cosplay names come from?
Ooh.
Mine was like a complete. So does anyone remember LiveJournal? I'm dating myself now.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, LiveJournal was the beginning of it for me, and like my name on LiveJournal originally was something like it was super like dramatic. It was like Soul Angel or something like that. And then my friend at school was just like, do you have something going on? Like Soul Angel is like a little extreme. Like, are you okay? And I was like, oh no, I have to change my username now. I don't want everyone to think I'm like emotional or something. God forbid. So I looked at I looked at like a dictionary or something and went through, and I was just like, what words do I like the sound of? And I like the phonetic sound of twin. I'm not a twin, but I like the sound of twin. And then fool, I also like the sound of that. I'll just mash them together, twin fools, which doesn't make an ounce of sense at all. And everyone thinks it has like a meaning to it, but literally it was just two words I liked that I bashed together. I mean, later it made sense because I'm a Gemini, so that's the twins, and I'm an idiot, so fool. But originally it was just sort of like me picking things out of thin air and mashing them together. Like I think
so
a lot of
usernames have to be
usernames are.
Soul Angel anymore.
No, but I'm sure if you looked back, you could probably find some postings by Soul Angel. Don't go search, please. Nobody.
Everyone do Google search.
There's probably a million Soul Angels too. So
Everyone's got that old username they want to bury.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I guess.
For me, it was. I didn't really research or anything like twin, so my name's stolen from an anime.
Sweet.
But so when I was trying to pick an alias for my, this was way before YouTube. This was way before cosplay. It was my YouTube account. Because before cosplay, I did FanDUBS and song covers and things like that, and animations. And so I was trying to come up with a name, and at the time, I was really invested in an anime called Higurashi.
Oh my God! Love Higurashi.
And there's a girl character in there that's my favorite character. Her name is Rika, and she has this catchphrase that she just spouts randomly. There's no meaning to it at all. I've looked into it. There's no meaning anywhere. She just goes, Nipah, and I'm just like, that's super cute. And so I was like, you know what? That's it. And so I stole that, and that became the name I go by now whenever someone talks to me, which is so weird. But yeah, so that's how I got Nipah. And the Dubs part just came from, well, I guess to get straight to the point, when people see my name, they're like, oh, he's Nipah and he dub. Okay, that's good. And that's why my Instagram account is, oh, he's Nipah and he cosplay. Nipah cos. Okay, that's good.
Oh, I thought it was dubstep. I thought like
No!
I thought it was like
thought of that too.
dubstep.
Oh no! I've never even correlated that.
Oh no!
I'm sorry.
Oh no! I've never even listened to dubstep. No, it's just because I used to do a lot of fan dubs.
Oh my God, that makes so much more sense.
Oh my God! I've never even considered it like correlating to dubstep. That's so funny. Oh my God!
That's incredible.
That's how I got.
So like, actually, like every time I've seen your username, like like NipahDUBS, I always like I don't play dubstep, but like when you see something that reminds you of something, and then like songs come on in your head, so it's like like dubstep comes into my head. So,
I mean, that's not too wrong. That probably fits my personality when like you meet me. So
okay.
that works.
All works out, man.
It's like
whether
an
it's
extra
NipahDUBS or NipahCos, as long as the Nipa part's there, that's me.
That's the importance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's my turn now. So when I started cosplaying, I was cosplaying with my friends, and we thought it would be all like cool and cute if we had animals in our names. So when I originally started cosplaying, I was actually Gazcat, and like my friend was Swallowtail, and I think we even had Raccoon Arts. And I think then when I got like more serious about cosplaying, I kind of wanted to, I don't know, I kind of wanted to move away from that kind of, I don't want to say silly, just kind of like naive version of me. So my friends call me Gazzi. It's my nickname. I'm known on here as Gazzi, so it just kind of became Gazzi Cosplay. So that's where I'm at now. I haven't got such a fun story as the others, but there we go. That's how I evolved to Gazzi.
Well, I mean, Gazcat isn't quite Soul Angel, but
No. See, this is what I
shouldn't
mean.
have
I'm
said
like the Diet
anything, should
Coke
I?
of these guys.
Hey, I'm still going by an anime name technically.
That's
My,
my first email address came from Sailor Moon. My email address was like Rubius. That was
Oh
one
my
of the bad
God.
guys. So don't worry, we've all been there.
It's okay, it's okay. My first email I was ever allowed to make was like Inuyasha #1 fan at Yahoo or something like that.
Don't we all have that in a history, though? Like some like anime name, and then like a number, and then like the year we were born at hotmail.com.
Yes.
That's just like a rite of passage.
I lucked out because Rubius wasn't taken, so I was just Rubius at Hotmail.
yeah, mine. My original first username that I ever had was I was like 5 and trying to make an account on Nickelodeon.com.
With your parents' permission, I assume, since that's what the commercials
With
always
my
say.
grandmother's
He's a
permission.
rebel. That's how she rolls.
And I just wanted my name to be Snow because that was my cat's name, but it was taken. So they had those auto suggest things where they just tack like random ass numbers at it. So they offered me Snow 7689, and I'm like, okay, that's the one that they said that I'm allowed to have. So that became my username for a very long time.
Oh.
I actually held on to that one in some sort of variation for like 6 to 8 years, because then I got into warrior cats, so I like became like Snow Eyes. I made like a warrior cat name out of it.
Ooh.
It's okay. Names.
You and Gazzi with your cats.
The closest to Animu cringe that I got.
I'm a crazy old cat lady, so
It's okay. It's okay to have numbers after your names nowadays, because I mean, even an Overwatch character has numbers after his name. In Soldier 76, you see, you're good.
It's true.
Yeah, see,
Soldier was taken.
Callback. Soldier was taken.
Eventually, we're going to run out of names. There's only a matter of time. You can only have so many names, which is freaky to think about.
That's when you get people who have like uppercase and lowercase X's, like
or
on
like
the other
emojis and stuff.
Yeah. That's how I ended up with
the X's before and after usernames. Wow, that brings back memories.
It's like 2002, 2004.
5-ish? 4 or 5?
Everyone was edgy in 2005.
It's true.
All right, are we ready for? Are there other questions before we get into?
I have a small notepad document, but we can swing back things get a little slow. So, if we want to open questions up to the chat, then if anyone has any questions, then please bold, and we'll go from there.
Somebody posted a real cute picture of a cat.
I know,
It's-
right?
it's
I gotta
Sorry,
go
that's
look
where
at
I
that.
gone. It disappeared. I was like, there's a
Shout out to the
cat.
cute cat.
Oh, here,
So,
you guys can cringe with me. I found a picture of my Dark
oh,
Link.
you found it!
Yes. Funny enough, we were actually sharing first cosplays in the chat this morning, so that's kind of perfect that you posted yours. I love it.
There it
So-
is.
As first cosplays go, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, I
Pretty
know,
Many
right?
belts. Do you see? I was already trying to be Square Enix with how many belts I have around my waist.
How many are there? 3, 4?
See, there's like 4 when he only has 1. I was just trying to make the belts look bigger, so I was like, you know what? Stack more belts. It'll make it look bigger.
I love it. You looked at it, was like, this needs more belts. Just threw everything at it. I love it.
That's
Then
brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Navarro saw that and was like, yeah, good idea.
That's good
I'm gonna
idea.
use
And
that
that's
for
my real
Squall.
hair for it too. I didn't know what wigs were.
Oh my god, that's funny because I'll show my first cosplay because I did the same thing. I did Sora, but I had no idea what to use on a wig, where to get a wig, what was the best kind of wig to use. So I just used my real hair because I was like, why not really? And it looked fine. And then I left the house and like Mother Nature had different plans and it just completely destroyed. So there you go, in chat,
So,
just the one lonely spike, and that was my first cosplay. And
I mean, hey, you got the big spike.
You got the
yeah,
big smile,
right.
that's
Yeah.
what matters.
I had so many other spikes, and then it just fell apart.
So, Aura wanted to know what has been your favorite cosplay that you've done so far?
Who first?
Anyone doing
I think we're all processing.
it?
Everyone's got a
Person
thing.
with an answer wins.
This question is always so rough.
Sorry, I was just trying to find my first cosplays. I posted it below that. That's a picture of me literally breaking my friend's arm in a game of Red Rover as Naruto.
That's
my God.
amazing.
Oh wow.
That's so good.
Wow, you
That's
got
incredible.
some air there.
Oh
You
yeah,
did
no,
get
and a
some
lot of
air
shame.
there.
You're gonna
Air and
win.
a lot of shame.
Oh, poor Tsunade.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. I think my favorite cosplay changes a lot. Like as in probably the most recent one I've done, because I guess I'm sort of attentionally driven that way. But I think that I really loved doing Ty from Digimon. Because that's a wig that I've always been in awe of and wanted to attempt from like the day I started cosplaying, and I also just really connect with the character too. I mean, it's a simple cosplay. It's a classic series. It's one that's close to my heart. But like, I joined soccer because I wanted to be more like Ty, because he was his team's best striker.
That's
So
cute.
just being able to like portray that character meant a lot to me. So I'd say. I'm going to say Ty right now, but I'm sure this will change as I'm thinking about it.
It's really cute.
I'd say mine is Demix. I just yeah, like he was my favorite organization character and he was my second cosplay. And I remember making the massive sitar and just being so proud of it. And then when I went to con and it got such a big like reaction stuff, I was like, oh cool, I've actually done something really fun here, and I'm playing as the character as well, like because I like to role play when I'm in character, and pretending to be Demix for the day was just brilliant. So I'm gonna say Demix is definitely my favorite one. He's really fun to cosplay as.
Love Demix.
Mm-hmm.
Precious water
Dance,
boy.
water, dance.
I know. I'm looking at my poor Demix wig that needs a bit more TLC. I took it to Norway and it didn't quite survive the trip back.
Have you considered jumping in a pool?
No, they did want us to jump in a lock, but I wasn't going to do that with the wig. I was like, Demix may control water, but I ain't getting wet.
The first time that I ever like wanted to get into water in a cosplay, I was trying to do a send off of my Yuna, but it ended up being like 20 degrees colder outside than we thought it was going to be.
Oh, no.
So I could not get into the pond.
No.
I
Oh, that would have been some really pretty pictures though. It would have been like the final sending she does. That would have been epic.
Yeah, that was
But
the
yeah,
goal.
don't
Was
get pneumonia or anything.
I was going to go into a pond and do a photo shoot out in the water, but I like got my boot halfway off, and then the air touched my leg, and then I cried.
I mean, probably a good thing you
No.
didn't, because that might have been your final sending with how cold it would have been.
And back to the
That's
darkness.
a good point. We were getting too happy for a minute there, so you have
I
to
know, we brought up Demix, which made the happiness levels too high, so we had to bring it down.
Had to bring it down back to death. I'm sorry. I can't control myself.
It's always you as well. Oh dear.
Well, it's a good thing we all have dark senses of humor.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I think my favorite cosplay my favorite cosplay to make, not really to be in. My favorite cosplay that I made is probably Vanitas from Birth by Sleep.
Hell
Because-
yeah.
it was something that I'd wanted to do but didn't know how for a while, and it took every skill I've learned up to that point in order to make it. It was sewing, wig styling, prop making, fabric, just like intense fabric work, fabric painting, dyeing, just so much went into that cosplay. And while I can only wear it for like 4 hours at a time, I'm still rather proud of it. But my
Don't you
favorite
love that when that happens? Like all the things that you've learned for cosplay kind of like blossom into this one ultimate costume.
Yeah, it was such like a rewarding feeling. It's like, wow, I've come this far and all these skills helped me make this thing. And it's like, this is pretty great.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank God for all of your work in progress pictures, because when I was making mine, I was basing it heavily off of what I saw from you.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm so glad I took photos. Usually I forget to, because when I get in the zone, I blank out, and I have a tunnel vision, and I just work nonstop on the thing. I don't take breaks until it's done, which is bad. Don't do that. So I always forget to take pictures. So I'm so glad that my whatever progress photos I had helped you in any way.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite overall cosplay, that was my favorite to make. My favorite overall cosplay is always probably going to be Sora. Just like, because I was able to do the dream shoot that I've been dreaming of ever since I first played Kingdom Hearts, which was doing a photo shoot at Disney World, doing a video at Disney World.
I saw those. You looked amazing.
Thank you so much.
Did somebody just post a picture of my ass as Sora down there, like upside down? Is that? I can't tell.
What is that?
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah. How did you find that? What is that?
I
Oh
would
my
be
God.
afraid. That is brilliant.
But yeah, your Vanitas, I love your Vanitas wig so much, and it is really cool to see when people like pull something together when they make a cosplay that they're so proud of and so into. Like being able to, I like being that person who makes that's amazing, but also like getting to see cosplayers do that and wear those things and be proud of them is also, I think, like really uplifting as somebody who, you know, is in the community and watching people's process and everything like that. It's just so inspiring to see. So yeah, thanks for posting so much about that cosplay, because it's quite incredible actually.
Oh, thank you so much. Worst part about Vanitas is that everyone's scared of me when I'm him. With Sora, like, I've noticed a big tonal shift. With Sora, everyone's like, oh, it's Sora, yay, and I can do like a big smile and stuff. With Vanitas, I'm like stone faced the entire time and I just glare. But it's not because I'm upset at anyone. It's because it's like 200 degrees trapped inside of my bodysuit.
It's because you're literally in pain. Yeah.
I'm literally in pain, but it fits the character so well. But every photo you'll ever see of me in Vanitas, I look like I'm ready to like murder, which fits his character. But honestly, it's like, please take the photo. I'm about to die. I need water.
Van, do you want to handle the chat questions, because I have the written up ones?
Oh yeah. Let me scroll back then, because I was keeping up with the chat as it comes. So
Yeah. I'll manage the chat room, and also we have
And props to you two for doing that, because that's not easy to do. There's a lot going on, so thanks for balancing that.
Yeah,
and
they move
going through.
fast.
Yes, thank you.
makes things a lot easier to have the two of us.
Yeah, we worked together the same way for the Quinton Flynn interview. But
The Flynn
my
interview?
phone actually
Flint,
the
oh,
Flynn
you
interview.
like interview? Love it.
And then my phone died halfway through, so that was an adventure.
Oh no.
Oh, tragic.
All right, so where are we?
Is that another picture? Let's have that.
You look so mad.
Oh, and the baby Sora, so cute.
The baby Sora is like looking off into the distance, like I'ma die.
You killed me. I'm a dead man. I love it. That's
Cute.
beautiful.
All right, I got a question. So Onion wants to know, what were some of the hardships you first faced when starting cosplay, and how did you overcome them?
I'm
Sorry.
just gonna jump straight in.
I don't know if you guys can hear me through my coughs.
That's
Oh
alright.
yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. I guess like a lot of cosplayers especially when you first kind of do it, you do get a lot of people that will say things like especially if they don't like understand what cosplay is, or they just see it as you're just dressing up, and they can say some like really hurtful things. And like I like to walk to con, like I'll get the train in costume, like full on costume, and go, and I'll get people drive past me and just yell shit. Or I don't know if I can say that. Anyway, they'll just yell nasty stuff, and it's really silly stuff. But like over the years, you just kind of grow a thick skin, and it's like just water off a duck's back, and you just kind of like, you know what, you guys can just scream all you like. I'm having fun. I can't hear you over how much of a good time I'm having. So yeah,
That's
I'd
a
say
good way
like
to
name
look at it.
calling is definitely one hardship for it.
Yeah, I think for me it's quite similar. I think a big thing I've needed to get over is, and I think it plays into like the modern idea of like cringe culture. Like when people see something, they're like, oh, cringe, and it's sort of like the self-consciousness of doing something you really like, but worrying that other people will judge you for it, or doing something outside the norm, and sort of feeling, yeah, again, like judged, and like you have to defend what you're doing, and that you can't like you can only show people things that are like completely that don't necessarily, that are safe, right? That won't get you made fun of for doing them. And so whenever I see like a comment even now where people say like cringe, I think that really gets me in a really visceral place, because I feel like oh, they're saying like I'm an embarrassment, I shouldn't have done that. When I mean, not everyone thinks that way, and I think it's just a really terrible way of putting people down. I like people use it as a joke, like I can say my stuff is cringy and that's fine, but when I think it's a positive thing. Like I think like seeing something cringy or embarrassing, like I like to do that for myself and among my friends. So like, why can't I post that for other people to see? Why can't I feel embarrassed? Like, does embarrassment have to be a bad thing? So I think for me, it's been like changing the feeling of embarrassment to the feeling of like, of being able to laugh at myself, and also take pride in that laughter, and in doing something that's embarrassing, yes, but sort of positing that as something that isn't a bad thing, that like doing something embarrassing isn't bad. Like I could fall down the stairs, I could poop my pants, and it's going to be okay, because that's embarrassing, but it'll be a great story later, or it'll lighten the mood, right? So I think that's something that I've had to move past and through and continue to. And it's like whenever somebody yells at me on the street when I'm in cosplay, I just try to like remember that, you know what, I probably made their day today. Like they are probably going to the bar tonight and they're going to tell somebody about the person they saw in full cosplay, and that's a overall positive thing.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Like being in the high street, we've had like me and my friends have had positive like things as well. But I completely agree with like what you're saying. Like it may be embarrassing, but like you showing that it's not a big deal to be doing these embarrassing things. Like,
Yeah.
inspires other people to get into the hobby too. Like we were talking about when we first started the call, like people got inspired by you guys, and if you guys were so self-conscious about doing the cosplay in the first place, that you probably wouldn't have inspired these other people to do it too. So no, that's a really cool thing, that you don't let it affect you, and you keep going and make it a fun thing, even if it's sometimes born from a spiteful thing from someone else.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think we've, like, as cosplayers, no matter who you are, you're always going to run into people who are going to judge you or look down on you because you're doing something that they consider to be weird or whatever, or you're spending money on something. Like, you spend all this money to dress up for the weekend is like a thought that people say. And I'm just like, well, you spend all this money to watch ball for a day, so, or you spend all this money to do whatever your hobby is. Like, you're doing that because you enjoy it, not because it's like the norm or practical. It's because it's something you love.
It's so true, and I think about like how something is like when you're embedded in it, then it makes perfect sense. Like I was super into sports. I played hockey for a long time, and hockey is like a typical hobby, especially as a Canadian, right? Hockey is a typical hobby to have. Nobody really questions it, but then you think about it, it's thousands of dollars of equipment and ice time, so that's a lot of money spent on something just as much as I would have spent on cosplay, and that I do spend on cosplay. And then you think about it, it's like, in essence, if you break it down to somebody who doesn't understand, hockey is going onto a cold sheet of water and hitting a rubber thing around while a bunch of people wear equipment. And cosplay is dressing up as a cartoon character. Neither of those things makes more sense than the other. It's just what you're used to, right?
Totally agree with that.
That's how I've always seen it. I'm just like, well, this is like, that's how I always explain it to someone who doesn't fully understand why I do what I do. I'm just like, well, what do you like to do? And they're like, well, I like to collect ceramic unicorns or whatever. Like, well, you spend a lot of money on those unicorns, right? And they make you happy. And just like, yeah, I was like, well, it's the same for me. And once you do that, they start to understand it better.
Yeah.
And the thing that's unique about cosplay too is that it's not always self-contained. So like if you collect ceramic unicorns, then that's something that brings you happiness in your own home. But I assume that you probably don't have a ceramic unicorn museum that you let people see. Whereas if you go in a cosplay of a character that people like, you go to like a children's event dressed as Spider-Man or something, and you're going to make somebody happy. You're going to be spreading that to other people.
Yeah, no,
And
I totally agree with that.
And the social aspect of it too, like, oh, sorry, Gazzi, go ahead. I think I interrupted you.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I went to a cosplay meet in London, and I took my Roxas, and we went to a pub. Like we had gone to the arcades, and we went into a pub, and then this girl come up and tapped me on the shoulder, and she was just like, "Oh my God, are you Roxas from Kingdom Hearts?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she asked to take a picture with me, and then I was like, "Hey, do you want to take a picture with my Keyblade?" And like, her face just lit up, and she turned to her boyfriend, and she was like, "I don't believe this morning when I got up that I was going to be holding the Kingdom Key." So like you said, it's, even though it's not like a contained thing, it's out there, and other people witness that. You can definitely make someone's day out of that too. Yeah. Sorry, you can go now.
And it's so social too. Like I think that there's this huge misconception that cosplayers are, and that nerds in general are like antisocial and incapable of socializing and like socially stunted or whatever you want to say. But I think that like, especially with cosplayer, I mean, even with gaming, right? With gaming, often that's something people do together. It's a social thing. And with cosplay, it's very often a social thing. I know a lot of people who became social through the hobby because it gave them something to connect with other people about, because cosplay, I think, is often inherently really social. Like, you go to big events, you don't have to, but often a lot of people do go to big events and talk to each other and engage in conversations, and it can be a really great starter to just be able to go up to somebody and start a conversation based on like shared knowledge. Like, if I see somebody cosplaying Sora, I can go up to them and just be like, "I love your Sora cosplay," or "What did you think about the last game?" Right? Because we have that instant in, and I think that's lovely.
Yeah, and it's a good way of it's a good way of teaching people how, especially younger cosplayers, younger con goers. I run a con with a very young demographic, and the a lot of these people are they've been sort of pushed into the dirt their whole life for being nerds, but then they go to this con and they have a base knowledge with which they can start a conversation. Like you said, it's difficult for them to walk up to their peers and not know if they're going to like video games. But you walk up to somebody who is dressed up as a video game character and you have a pretty good chance of being like, oh, what's your favorite game? And you're going to get an answer that's not, I don't play video games. Video games are for nerds.
Right. Yeah.
So your chances of having a positive interaction with another person at a con are a lot higher, so you're a lot more likely to feel comfortable socializing, and then you get more confidence that way. The more positive interactions you have, the happier a person you are.
I love that this is just it's just a chat call, but I'm still nodding around like I'm talking to you guys in person.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm just sitting there nodding my head like a Churchill dog or something. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that's something that I love about cosplays is that you can go to a Comic-Con, not know anyone there, but if you spot a fellow KH cosplayer, you've instantly got something to talk about, and like you can be talking to them for the whole weekend. Then, like, I've made so many friends through it, and even friends from other countries. Like that's how I ended up going to Norway, because I have friends that come from Norway that go to MCM in London, and then I went to one of their cons in Norway. So it's like it's even branched out of the UK. Like my cosplay's taken me to other countries because of like making friends through it.
Oh, that's cool. So you guys did like a con swap.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add to? I don't even remember what question was just asked.
I don't either.
I think it was hardships in cosplay, and then we ended
Right.
ending on a nice fluffy note instead.
Wow, it started off sad and ended up good. Go figure.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
Living
We're
the
keeping the
dream.
happy levels up.
All right. Next question is: how much fun do you have in cosplay skits or being in character?
I love performing. That doesn't mean I'm a good performer, but it doesn't have to. I love performing. I love acting. I have a really hard time staying in character. I'm not a good actor that way, but it does bring me a lot of joy to get to act and to get to perform in front of people. I think that for a while it was like the way I was most able to be myself. Before other things in my life sort of fell into place to allow me more so to do that. I think that it's something that like a lot of people are like afraid to, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but like a few people are afraid to get into because they're worried that like again, like that they have to do it perfectly. But I think that often with cosplay, we're always sort of like pseudo acting in a way, right? Like when you're posing, you're acting as the character. That doesn't mean you have to like take on that persona. Like when I'm cosplaying Joffrey, I'm not the worst person ever for the day.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly. Because that would be terrible. And when I'm Sora, like I'm still able to be like sad if something happens, but it just allows you to like step into a different shoe, whether that's a huge shoe like Sora's shoe or what have you. For a day, and you can do it in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be on camera or anything.
I totally get that. Like, Sora's fun to cosplay because I'm usually quite cheery and happy anyway, so I feel like I don't have to do much. I just be me, and then I can put on just like my organization coat and be Roxas and not necessarily be miserable, but I get to be a little bit more chill and grumpy, and I don't have to be all smiley. It also reminds me, like, one of my favorite things about cosplay is definitely getting into the role. One year, my friends and I decided to do just generic zombies, so we could like match up with anyone who was doing a Resident Evil cosplay or something like that. And for the whole day, like, we did nothing but growl and snarl and chase people. I didn't speak that entire day, but I went home with a really sore throat and a twisted ankle. I like chased someone and I jumped down the stairs and twisted my ankle. But that's still one of my favorite con experiences ever, just because of just being a zombie and just doing nothing but being a zombie all day was so much fun. Of like just taking on that role and doing it.
I think one of the great things about cosplay is, let's say you don't have, like, a lot of us don't have like a lot of self-confidence or something of the sort, and let's say you're cosplaying a character, let's say like Dante from Devil May Cry, who's got a lot of self-confidence and he holds himself really strongly. So if you cosplay that character, you sort of take on their confidence, and for that moment you feel as confident as that character, you feel as strong as they are, as beautiful, as handsome, as friendly, as sociable, as whatever you want to put to it, whatever positive traits come from that character, you feel that as when you look at yourself, you're like, I can be this character now. And even when you take off the cosplay, some of that confidence that you had while wearing it, and people, because at a convention, no one sees you as you when you're in cosplay. They see you as that character, and a lot of people, like, in their mind, will see you and treat you as that character. And so you're gaining, and you're subtly gaining this confidence that that character has. And even when you take off the cosplay, some of that will still remain with you. And I think it's a wonderful thing that cosplay can be a self-confidence booster in that sort of way.
I totally agree with that. Like, um, I was talking to a lad in Norway when I went to one of the cons there, and he was asking like, how do you get the confidence to cosplay? And I was like, you've got it like the wrong way around. It's not that you need confidence to cosplay. Cosplay gives you confidence. I mean, that totally worked that way for me. It's exactly like you say. You take on this persona of that character, and then when you take that costume off, there's still a little bit of that inside you, because it's like you suddenly realize that, hey, I'm actually capable of being that confident, and it kind of makes you aware of your own abilities, and just like I said, like you find that you've actually got that confidence inside you, and it's just brilliant that a character that you admire has brought that out in you. That's another beautiful thing that I love about cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And in the vein of what Lucas said, the being able to use cosplay to sort of play around with your own expression of yourself, especially when it comes to, I know a lot of people in the cosplay community who have been able to sort of grapple with their gender and sexuality in that way, and that is another amazing outlet.
Yeah. I'm well, I know that for myself that was immensely important for me in terms of my own coming out and being able to, I think before I was ready to openly state that, to be able to okay, I don't know if anyone here knows I'm transgender, so for me being able to express myself as a guy and to bind and be a guy at cons gave me that sort of that bridge to be on before I was ready to come out, before I knew that I could come out, before I had the words. I was able to use cosplay to just sort of to be in that space where I could be myself without the danger of coming out, and to explore that a bit. I work with trans youth, that's and trans folks. That's my job, and you wouldn't believe the number of folks I've met over the years who have found their gender identity, who have come out through cosplay. It's really quite staggering, the overlap between LGBTQ plus folks and the cosplay community. I think it's a safe haven in a lot of different ways for people.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that it's a little bit more personal than like a lot of people used to try and explore that kind of thing with like game avatars and stuff. But because of there's a lot of gendered problems in video games. That's been a problem for a while, but the cosplay community is a lot more accepting of, well, this character exists, or this character looks like it could exist, so we're going to call you by what the character's gender is, and we don't care what you underneath are. You are expressing it as that character, so you get to sort of experience what that feels like. and that can be really helpful to a lot of people, especially with how no one. If you walked up to a cosplayer and you said, "My pronouns are this," then 99% of the time they're going to be like, all right, I'll call you
That's
that.
cool. Yeah.
All right, so the next question
All of the
is...
buzzing.
Actually, it kind of ties in. Aside from wanting to be the best you can and being an inspiration, what do you want to provide to the cosplay community?
Ooh.
It's a good question.
Deep.
Yeah. These are really deep questions. Oh wow.
I have a couple that are written down that I was looking over, and I'm like, I have to think about these.
Yeah, right.
You know, we just say that these questions are deep, and then I scroll down a little bit, and I see the picture of Roxas looking down at Sora at the bottom of the slide again.
Deep, man. I think that, okay, sorry, what was the question? It was like, what do we want to bring to the cosplay community? What do we want people to know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, I hope and want that people know it's okay. I mean, this is gonna sound like really, I guess, cheesy, but just that it's okay for people to be exactly who they are and who they want to be, that like who you are is valid and who you are is enough. Like, I think that if there's something I try to do, it's to just like spread accessibility of this hobby, and accessibility of being able to be who you are where you are, because not everyone has the means to do the cosplays they want, to buy the materials they would need to do a certain something. Not everyone has the ability to be themselves, to be out, to be open about who they are, because they might live in a really unsafe space. Not everyone is at that place yet, and it's just, I think, really pressing for like everyone to also have a space at the table, like whether you're able to afford Warbler or a sewing machine or not shouldn't define the validity of your cosplay, how your cosplay is seen, because there are so many different ways to cosplay. And I mean, buying your cosplay is valid. Buying clothes from a thrift store and having that be your cosplay is valid. And I've seen people make beautiful stuff that way. So just trying to really, I'm always trying to check myself and think about who's being excluded from conversations we're having, who's being excluded from events we're holding, from cosplay competitions, because I think that there's like an accessibility piece in there, and I don't think I have the answer as to like how to open cosplay up more to more folks, but it's something I strive to work on. It's something I want to really think about more.
I mean, that's like, I completely agree with that. I mean, I think one of my like, I talk about how much I love cosplay and stuff, but one thing that does upset me is when you have what's like cosplay elitism, and I feel like, it's like you say, you've got some people who are just starting and like they don't know everything there is to do with cosplay. Hell, I'm still learning. I've been a cosplayer for 10 years, and like no one knows every single thing there is to know about this hobby yet. I hope not, anyways. I want it to grow. And some, like, I run the cosplay club here on this Amino, and I just want to let people know that you can cosplay whoever you want, no matter if you think you're too big or if you can't sew. Like, buying a costume isn't a cosplay sin. It's not a bad thing. As long as you're having fun, I think that's the important thing. So I mean, every hobby has these things. You have like elitism in everything, where people think they're the better out of the hobby. But I'd like to see a less cosplay elitism when it comes to things like that. Like, I want people to feel confident when they're in costume and stuff like that. So I guess that's something that I would like to pass on to future cosplayers, or whoever I talk to about cosplay.
I'm glad we're all on the same page with this so far.
Yeah, I fully agree with all that's been said. With me, I think what I've been trying to do more lately is pass on what I've learned from cosplay, because as you said, there's so many new cosplayers who don't know how to start, don't know where to go. And I've started my own program of like apprenticeships and stuff where I basically will instruct you on how to do your like where would you get a wig, how do you style this, what kind of fabrics would fit this cosplay. There's so like how to make a prop. There's so many various aspects to cosplay that you can incorporate into your own cosplay that I've learned. And there are cosplayers out there who, once they've learned something, they'll refuse to share the information with others.
I've totally had that before.
Yeah,
I've asked them.
it's
Me too.
it's a fortunate thing where if you ask someone like, "Hey, how did you do that?" They're like, "Oh, sorry, it's a secret," or like, why is it a secret? Like, there's no need for it to be a secret. It's not just yours. It's something that you could share, and so that's what I think I'd like to pass along is any knowledge I've learned. Like when anyone asks me, how would I go about styling this wig? How would I make this? What did you use for this? Like I will be more than happy to share what knowledge I have and instruct you, oh, I did it this way, or I used this stitch method, or these are my styling products. This is where I get my wigs. Like I think
true.
passing on the knowledge is very key.
Absolutely, because we all like this hobby is built off of learning from each other, right? Like there's no school of cosplay yet, so we all sort of depend on shared knowledge. Like I can think back to like if I hadn't had the friends I had who were more experienced than I was in terms of sewing, like my fiance Nova taught me how to sew, and I learned how to style wigs through a couple friends we had, and like if I hadn't had any of those encounters with people, I wouldn't have been able to learn. And it just sucks that some folks are sort of are barred from that, and that shouldn't, like as you're saying, Nipah, like it shouldn't be protected knowledge. We're not freaking magicians, right? Like we don't have to guard our secrets. And I'm really happy that you share so much of what you do with folks, and Gazzi and everyone else, that you're so open to helping other folks. And I also find that I learn a lot from people too. Like
Exactly.
Beginner cosplayers, it's like a new angle that I've never thought of, and
or like a kind of like a fresh perspective, and they may even have things in their own background. Like a lot of the things I learned from cosplay, I learned from when I was at college and uni. I did animation, and we did stop mo. So a lot of the stuff I've learned from making sets and puppets, I've put into my props, and even my sister, she did fashion at school, so she taught me how to sew and how to like make tailored fit costumes and stuff like that. And all of this, I didn't like. I wouldn't have learned that anywhere else other than asking questions. And whenever people ask me like, oh, how did you learn to do that? I'm like, it's self-taught. Like I watch YouTube videos like almost religiously on how to like make things, and I'll research stuff and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. That can come in handy for a future cosplay. But yeah, no, I completely agree. Like definitely passing on knowledge will definitely help new cosplayers and everything.
Especially since because cosplay is such a like worldwide hobby, you get people who come from all kinds of weird walks of life who have experience in like as you said, me had experience with stop motion animation. So that's a skill that most people wouldn't know to even think about applying to their cosplay because they've never had that life experience. I've done a lot of. I actually went to a modeling academy. Like I have a graduation certificate from a modeling academy. So I coach people when I have the chance on how to pose for cosplay photos.
Cool.
So,
I need some lessons from you then.
I know that's a struggle that a lot of that's a struggle that a lot of cosplayers have, whether they're new or old, because if you don't know how to do it because nobody ever showed you, then that's not something you can apply, and there isn't a lot of information about that kind of thing out there.
I need
Because you're
your
not
help.
going to pay for it.
I need your help so bad. I look like a sack of potatoes 90% of the time. I can't pose my body. Please help me.
This is where I'm grateful for my boyfriend. He's a photographer, so when we were doing my Splicer photo shoot, I was kind of like trying to make poses, and he'd be like, "Okay, it's good, but move your arm up a little bit," and he'd like make me like he'd kind of like pose me, and then the images we got from them were spectacular. Like I've never thought that I've looked good in cosplay photos until he was just like, "Okay, we're gonna take some photos for you," and he made me look stunning, even though my face was covered in pustules. I was just like, "Lewis, these are incredible." Again, he has that from his like photography eye, and yeah, I feel like he like upped my cosplay from just tweaking my body. It was like just telling me to put my arm up this way and not like next or whatever. But it was, yeah, so definitely stuff like just simple things like Via said, like teaching someone how to pose can do a massive difference to like their cosplay and even how they feel about their cosplay.
I saw there's another cosplayer. They're a cosplay photographer, and they put out this infographic, like this set of infographics on posing in cosplay and how to position different parts of your body to look more masculine or feminine. And that was one of the most useful things that I've ever read. And I wish that I knew what the name of the person who posted it was. But it's that kind of thing, being able to share that kind of information with people, and the fact that it explained why those things worked, it helps people learn a lot better too.
Yeah, it's kind of like how like footballers have to do ballet and stuff, or kickboxers do ballet to learn how to become like nimble and stuff like that. And it's kind of like you can learn things from like to improve your cosplay that you wouldn't have thought of from before, like you said with modeling and posing and stuff.
So everybody comes at it with really interesting, different skills, and I think that I agree that it's really important for people to be supporting each other, especially in a hobby where people sometimes feel like they're alone. So being able to share with each other is really, really important.
Totally agree with that.
So
right.
I had
what?
I had one of my questions, if you wanted.
Yeah, go.
Or you can do yours.
Well, the next question's a little bit lighter, so.
All right, if you want to start with that then.
Let's get this a little lighter. Noctis wants to know, what's the craziest thing you've ever done for cosplay?
Of course, Noctis would want to know that. There's just so much, which is why this is difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Craziest thing ever done for cosplay.
Because there's crazy, what's the length that you went to make the thing? What's the length that you went to get a picture?
This probably isn't the craziest, but it's the first one that comes to mind for me. When I was doing my Geno shoot from One Punch Man, I wanted to get that superhero look for the photo. So me and my friend, we drove out to the city in the middle of Dallas, and we went to the tallest building we could find. That was a parking garage. We went all the way to the top of the floor, very, very top. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sit and stand on the very edge of this parking garage cliff, like hang area where you're not supposed to sit because you could fall over.
Oh no!
And I was like, I did that for the shoot that I have as my profile picture. I ended up in some really not safe places on the top of a parking garage.
Oh, wow!
And I was like, okay, if you're gonna get the shot, and if I fall, please post the shot at least.
Oh my god!
And I was like, and if I do fall, take photos of me falling too, because I think it'd be kind of funny. But with that whole day, it was such a danger. There was me just holding onto a fence that was hovering over the same like ledge. And then later that day, I was like, isn't there a construction site like right near us? And she's like, yeah, but it's like you're not supposed to go in there. And I was just like, but there's no one there.
I love it.
And so we broke to this construction site so I could take photos of me like as a broken robot against like the rubble and everything, so it looked like it was the middle of a fight. And the photos came out really good, but we had to like sprint through it because we were so scared of getting caught.
I actually
didn't you end up in like a drainage pipe at some point?
it was not Dreams Pipe. It was a it was like they had just got done knocking down this building, and
Oh
so I was
right,
like
yeah.
in the actual rubble of this building that could fall at any moment. I was like, this is fine. This is all for cosplay.
Oh wow. I feel like
Mine
When
every
I
is
was
snake has
mine's
that.
super similar to Nipah's. It's we were filming a CMV, and I think like we do a lot of crazy things for the good shot. But it was in Norway, so it's funny, Gazzi, that you're bringing up Norway a lot too. So we filmed the last part of the CMV in Norway before the con we were going to, because all the people in the CMV were living in different countries, so we actually couldn't film it until like the night before the con, which is kind of crazy. And I was Jack Frost, and I wanted to do a final shot where I did like a jump, and I was going to slow it down, but I needed to get enough air, so I went to the side of a Norwegian cliff with some grass below it, and I don't know the climate there, so I didn't know about permafrost. So I went to the edge of the cliff, and I'm just going to jump. I'm going to land in that nice grass below. It's fine. It's gonna be a nice cushion. It's okay. And I jump, and I land, but my feet immediately leave the underside of my body because it's ice. It's frozen. And I landed right on my tailbone. Basically almost broke my butt. And
I shouldn't
the
laugh.
photographer,
Wow.
the photographer
this
was
is
like,
the
"Are you
light
okay?"
question.
It was pretty terrible. I thought I was paralyzed from the waist down for about 3 minutes. And so as I was looking up at the sky in this foreign country, I was thinking, this is how I die. I die as Jack Frost in a country I'm not from,
Oh
jumping
no.
off a cliff for the sake of a cosplay music video. So
Well, you have to
was
believe in yourself.
yeah, and clearly I didn't believe in myself enough, or too much. I don't know. I'm still undecided on that one.
But did the shot come out good?
You know,
Yeah,
it kind of didn't, because the only place we used it was as a blooper reel at the end of the video.
Oh.
So you were nearly paralyzed for nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I
Hey,
shouldn't
that
laugh.
clip
but it
could
is
have at least made someone laugh. So there's that.
Actually, yeah, that's very true.
When I
But
did
I mean,
the
I'm
when
glad.
I did the
Quinton
glad
says,
you're okay.
death via broken tush.
Yeah, that's like the saddest way to die too. Like he
Broken
died because
butt.
his butt got broken.
Tombstone.
I'm laughing like a 12-year-old. I'm sorry.
Anyone else nearly falling to their death for cosplay?
No, like I
Anyone?
said, I had to die.
I almost got run over by a truck when I was doing that photo shoot with the in the parking garage. So the character is from the Indestructibles books, and she is basically Batman but a ballerina, and she for one of the poses they had me get like super low to the ground, so I was like, I had my legs crossed and I was basically flat against the pavement of the parking garage, but I was trying to find like a really shadowy place for the sake of the lighting of the shot, and the photographer was like a ways away, and then a truck tried to park in the parking spot that I was like lying down in. And I was in all black in the shadows in a parking on a parking garage, like concrete. So they almost didn't see me, and I was like so firmly pressed down against the ground that I almost couldn't get up in time.
Yeah, no.
We
Over.
we purposefully did hit Nova with a car for a video. She was cosplaying Winnie the Pooh. We were doing a Kingdom Hearts skit, and we wanted to hit Winnie the Pooh with a car. But we're just gonna do it lightly. Lightly hit her with the car. So we got into Valdrian's car, and she slowly drove forwards towards Jenna. And the thing that happens when you get hit with a car is that you actually get sucked under, no matter how hard you hit somebody. So we were sort of slowly pulling into her, and she was getting sucked under the car very slowly. And thankfully, in the nick of the time, we realized that we were going to kill her and stop. but yeah, the crazy things we do for a good shot.
Here lies Nova, died in a Winnie the Pooh costume, run over by Kingdom Hearts people.
Actually, that's true. That would have been way more embarrassing.
Oh, bless.
Dang, that leaked footage from Kingdom Hearts 3s and 10s.
Who getting
This is going to be the
wrecked
edgy
by a
Kingdom Hearts
car?
game. It's the Shadow the Hedgehog of Kingdom Hearts games.
Lee, I don't think I have anything that fun. I think
No, like I said,
my
compared to you guys,
There
I'm
was
hurt.
the time
No.
where the photographer was trying to get a shot of you like leaping down to Sheik and made you do the jump like 20 times in a row, and you couldn't breathe because you had the face mask on. But you
Oh,
kept
yeah.
jumping.
Oh god.
well, you gotta get a shot.
Oh god.
I feel like I
That's
don't
me.
work hard enough for my cosplays. I don't have any of these stories.
I feel you on jumping forever for photos. That's me anytime I wear Zenyatta. Everyone's like, jump, float. And I'm just like, why aren't you floating? I'm just like, I can only do so much right now. I'm this giant robot man.
Sorry for still being human.
You know.
So John is going to join the community, but is more technologically challenged than Twin Fools as of right now.
Oh,
I
no.
feel you,
So
John.
Twins.
he
Then
downloaded
how-
the app, but he can't figure out how to get into the community. So I'm trying to help him with that.
Oh my god.
But I do have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Tara, and she asked, what advice do you have for beginning cosplayers with no experience, and where would you go to find cheaper materials instead of because a lot of things are upsold if you try to buy them for cosplay.
Oh,
Thrift.
yeah, I was gonna say thrift stores, or we call them charity shops here in the UK. But definitely if you can buy clothes that are similar, that you can then edit on, whether it be ripping up or paint on top of, and you buy them really cheap at charity shops or thrift shops. That's definitely a good way to start, I think. My Splicer cosplay, actually, it cost me £7, and that was shoes, waistcoat, trousers, and a shirt, and I bought them at a market in Mexico. So that's the cheapest cosplay I've ever done, and I like my Splicer cosplay. I think it's awesome, and to think that I only spent £7 on it is ridiculous to me.
Resounding off that, definitely thrift stores. I recently did Android 17, and I made it my goal to thrift everything for it, and I did. It was all under, including the wig, was under $30 for the entire thing, and it's amazing that what you can find that's already there that you can easily modify to fit your character, even if you don't have a lot of sewing skills or anything of the sort. You could easily find materials that exist in the world already and just gently modify them to fit the character. And
Yeah,
even if
definitely.
you have even if you have no skills at all with a sewing machine, there's no wrong with buying. If you want to buy a cosplay, by all means do it.
And if you do go down the editing charity clothes route, you don't even have to sew. You can just use a glue gun. I mean, it works for drag queens, so why not cosplayers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with starting as a new there's no wrong place to start. I think that sorry, my headphones fell off there. I think that if you can find somebody to connect with who has some experience, that can be helpful. If you know a friend who knows how to sew, maybe ask them to teach you how to make a basic pair of pants or a t-shirt. If you have a friend who thrifts or cosplay stuff a lot, ask if you can come along. And if you have a friend who styles wigs, ask if you can observe them doing that, if they can help you. Help is always great. I've found a lot of great stuff at thrift stores. I think they're a bastion of cosplay supplies, and they are usually super cheap, so that's great. Also, borrowing and between friends, I often, if I don't have a component for a cosplay, but I know somebody who's done it, or vice versa, we'll often swap cosplay components. Is, I mean, as long as everyone's treating everyone's cosplay with respect, then that can really help and save you from needing to like make a big prop or thing when you don't want to or
You can
don't
totally
know
express
how.
someone else's. That's a sweet tip. I like that.
Yeah, I think just like starting where your comfort is. Like if you're really interested in doing a certain aspect of a cosplay, like if you really want to make the sword, maybe just start with the sword because clearly it's interesting. It's interesting to you. So if it's interesting to you, you're more likely to
have more of a drive to do
have
it.
more you want to put into it.
Yeah. Again, like I said before, like YouTube tutorials, there's like hundreds out there on YouTube for things. So again, like if you wanna, if you are starting out on your own and you've got no friends or anyone that you think you can ask, YouTube's always really good. I know when people ask about making kingdom keys, Odin Makes has an incredible tutorial. So yeah, like you can also use YouTube to learn how to do things and stuff like that.
And another very important thing, 9 times out of 10, if you see a cosplayer whose costume you admire, just ask them how they did it. Most people will be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they aren't, if they're big jerks, then they're big jerks, and maybe they, maybe now you know not to engage with them going forward, right? Like there's you didn't do anything wrong if you ask somebody like, oh, I really like your wig, how did you style that? And if they turn around and say like, I'm never telling you or something weird like that, like that's on them and not on you for asking for sure.
Yeah. But no, that's like Guile said, that's really good advice too. Like if I'm approached at a con and someone asks me about something, I'm more than happy to tell them how I did it. I've even given out my like email or like any social media if they don't want to give me their email about it, and I was like, just message me if you need any help or anything, and like I have no problems telling people how I've made things. It's, like we said before, that's how you learn and how you grow and how you become better.
And Corinne made a good point that that YouTube is a great go-to for learning how to do something. There's tutorials for everything. And even if there's not a tutorial for the thing that you're looking for, try and brainstorm like things that are similar or ask for help on trying to find things that might get you into that vein. But he did also point out that most YouTube tutorials won't warn you about like fumes and safety precautions. So just make sure that you make sure that if you're going to be doing something that that's with heat or adhesives, that you're doing it in a ventilated area, because most tutorials won't remember to tell you. And I think that the thing with people with certain people not wanting to share how they made things is I moderated a commissions forum for a while, and people were so secretive over how they did things because they thought that they could make money doing it. And if like people knew how to make anything, then they wouldn't like make money anymore. So I feel like those tend to be the kind of people who get into cosplay like thinking that it's going to make them rich. And even then, those are toxic people, and don't hang out with them because they're butts.
Guys, just real quick apology. I think somebody commented like on uncontrollable vibrating on the stream. I think that might be me because I don't know how to turn off my notifications. So I'm just going to go on mute and see if that helps the vibrating annoying sound. I'm sorry about that. So we're going to try this out.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Just remember to actually unmute yourself when you start talking.
Oh no, I got that, and I can still like hear. I'm gonna see if that helps. So let me know if it continues.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
I think a very useful thing for those who are looking to step into actually sewing their own stuff is that when you look at any character, even no matter how advanced their like concept may be for their clothing, you can always break it down to some kind of clothing that exists in real life that you can just modify. So if you go to a thrift store and you buy clothing that looks similar, at least that like has the same shape, what I found easier than like buying patterns from Joann's, whatever, is just finding a clothing that exists in real life that already looks like it, cutting it up into all its shapes and all its patterns and laying them flat, and then modifying that clothing to fit the character. That's how I make a lot of my patterns actually for all my cosplays. Is I just take something that exists, I cut it up, like pants pattern, like for pants, I take old pants I don't wear anymore, and I cut it up in there. I have a perfect pants pattern that I know will fit me no matter what.
Yeah, that's how I did my organization coat. I had a long sleeve t-shirt that I just basically unpicked all the seams and, like you said, laid the patterns flat, and I worked out how to make the coat from just a long sleeve t-shirt. Like
It's
you
100% true. I
yeah,
think
you can
if you know how to make
invent
like a
things like that.
shirt and pants, you're set. Like you can actually make anything
Yeah.
from shirt and pants.
Hmm.
And
Definitely, especially
especially,
if you have odd proportions, because the proportions and patterns, I don't actually know anyone who fits into those brackets. So
Yeah.
if you have a shirt that fits you nicely, or a pair of pants that used to like be wearable but now have like holes in it, then just use that as a base pattern and work from there.
Somebody's cat just meowed. That was real cute.
Oh, that's my cat.
No.
My fiance just left the room, and every time anyone leaves the room, he meows constantly because he wants to be around us constantly.
Oh, poor
Oh,
guy.
bless you.
Oh.
so cats
That's
are
like my fella's cat, yeah, Shmoo cat. Whenever I lay down or sit down, she like comes running. Like you just hear this little bell tinkle, 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 and then jumps, and then she's there. And then I can't get up because she's like, "No, human, you are warm." But that is adorable.
He's a good boy. He tries his best.
Oh,
That's what matters.
give him a fussing from me.
So do we have anything else on this topic, or are we gonna scoot along?
I think we're
I
good.
think we covered pretty much
think
things.
we're all
Yeah, I
set to
mean,
move on.
All right, cool. Lee, did you have the next question, or am I still allowed to ask questions over here?
I have one if we're ready for one that's a little intense.
oh gosh. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Well, we got past photoshoot horror stories, so I think we're good.
So I don't know where this question came from, but this is the one that I'm like I need to think about this.
Oh no, I'm scared.
So as someone who has a following, do you feel like people who have followers are responsible for their fans' actions or have an obligation to do something bigger while they have people who are willing to listen to them?
Oh, that's interesting.
That is quite interesting. I mean, I have a very, very small following. Like I say, um, I would say like, I mean, if you have a large following, that's fantastic and stuff. But I don't feel like you should be pushing your personal opinions on top of people. Like, if that's kind of like what you're asking about, like if you should be trying to influence these people using your following, even if you think it's a good cause. I just feel like you're kind of forcing something onto someone, and I don't know. Even if, like I said, even if you think it's like the best cause in the world, I don't know if that's 100% right for that. And I don't think a person is responsible if their fans are then like actively doing things and like that, because that's something they can't control. They can't control what's in someone's head either. But I don't know. Like I said, my following is like tiny, so I guess that would be different for others.
I actually had a conversation that was somewhat similar to this recently with another cosplayer, and I think ultimately, once you gain a following, you have to find a balance between pleasing your followers and pleasing yourself and your own ideals and morals. Um, like there's some things you can talk about and some things you can't. But I believe the topic that came up was Photoshop of cosplay, because Kamui Cosplay, who's a very big cosplayer, made a video talking about photoshopping cosplay, photoshopping your proportions or whatever, like adjusting your cosplay or whatever. And that's a really big thing overseas where it's normal. It's a normal thing to do. But over here, it can be seen as a stigma, or it can be seen as you sending the wrong message to people that they need to look this way.
Yeah.
When overseas, like I found, especially with Japanese cosplayers, a lot of my friends who are Japanese cosplayers, it's a normal thing there. And when you go to a shoot, it's like something that's just the norm. It's what they do because they, as opposed to craftsmanship, which not saying that they don't care about craftsmanship at all over there, but they care. It's more of a looking just like this character thing for cosplay rather than this is how I made this and this is my labor hours into this cosplay. But back onto the topic of things, I think that there has to be a stable ground of you adhering and pleasing your fans and whatnot, but also you need to also realize that that person that you look up to is their own person with their own opinions and ideas and stuff, and just because they do have a giant following doesn't mean they're never allowed to voice it. But I do believe that there's some things that you shouldn't say, and then some things that you should say. It's a very fragile line, and
Yeah.
some it's a very hard line to like keep in balance.
Yeah.
I think
No, I get
I
that.
think a lot of it comes down to power. So when people are when people have large followings or when they're looked up to, I mean, like actually, no matter how big the following, right? When somebody looks up to somebody else, that person has power, whether they've asked for that or not. They have influence. They have there's a there's an imbalance there, right? And so I think that there's a responsibility upon folks with larger followings or with any sort of following just to be aware that that is the case and to be aware of what they're sharing and that their words do influence folks and to just ensure that they're not taking advantage of people and just especially like knowing the age groups, right? Like you could have very young people following you
That's also true. Yeah.
and just wanting to make sure that um, you're not you're not taking advantage, right? Or you're not putting someone in an unfair situation that you're always sort of grounding yourself and coming back to that. I think it with political stuff, right? Like I think it is important to 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 be able to say what you believe, but to also be responsible for the fact that I think that as people in power who have any sort of power, it's important to use that power to support folks who are the most vulnerable. So to yeah, I mean, like I make a lot of posts that are that are in support of trans folks. Or I try to retweet if there are folks of color posting things that are important to them. I try to retweet and circulate those things. I don't think I have a right to stand on that stage and speak on behalf of those populations because I'm not a person of color myself, but I think it's important for me to amplify those voices because I have the quote unquote power. And so I see it as my responsibility to do that and to try to bring up voices that might otherwise not have that sort of reach. I don't know. It is difficult though, right? And I think that a lot of
Yeah, I
cosplayers
mean,
have gotten in a lot of trouble for posting for posting things that might not have been an issue had they not had that power, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
yeah.
really, really interesting topic because there's no right answer, and that's the thing that's kind of cool about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as well. It's like you wanna like, especially if it's like say your Instagram and you wanna post things that are true to you and that do matter to you and that will kind of influence someone whoever follows you or whatever. So it's kind of even without meaning to, you can influence someone. So yeah, like it is one of those things. I think you just have to be kind of try to be mindful and maybe a bit careful that you might influence someone without kind of realizing it or something along those lines.
I think there's also a piece to be said about like the fact that being a bystander is also taking. There's a great quote, I love it. And sorry, this is like my sociology side is sort of coming out here, but
Yeah,
there's a
go for it.
great there's a great
Bring it.
quote where uh, being I think it's like something like being silent is siding with the oppressor. So
Ooh.
when you're silent on a subject, you are sort of automatically siding with the person in power, and that for like, I know a lot of people say like, I don't want to get involved, but when somebody is being wronged, when somebody is being unfairly treated, being sort of like that old like don't be a bystander thing, right? Like I think there is a responsibility to say something. I think a lot of us will not want to be involved, but sometimes it's necessary to do that because you might have folks in your following who think that they're not cared about, and I think it's important that we let folks know that they are seen and cared about. And yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's like trying to get that right balance.
This question is sort of an interesting extension of the one from earlier. What do you want to provide to the community? It's just an extension of that. If you want to provide a sense of validity of acceptance, then yeah, that includes everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cosplay for all.
Does anyone have anything else to add to this topic?
I mean, I guess I'll just add like, don't be a jerk. Like, I'm gonna sum everything up by like just think about what you say before you say it, and who it could potentially harm. If you're potentially doing harm to somebody, then just consider that before you post. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
like
good
we
advice
keep coming
for
back. Like we keep coming back to, don't be a butt.
Don't be a butt. Today's life lesson.
Exactly.
All right, Lee. Do you want to give the next one from your list, or should I?
Yes, it's actually not a question about existential horrors. Although it might be, depending on your answer, it might be. So this is actually related back to the Amino. What was the first Square Enix game or anime you were exposed to?
Ooh.
Square Enix is 90% existential dread, so.
So I mean.
Funny enough, like one of the first animes I watched was Full Metal Alchemist. And it did occur to me that Square Enix like was making an anime or producing it, because I was already playing like Final Fantasy games as well. So it just it intrigued me that like one of my favorite game companies were also making an anime that I like, my first anime that I got me into more anime. So yeah, I guess like when it comes to Square Enix, it's I had played like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, and I was watching Full Metal Alchemist.
All right.
I think my first Square Enix experience probably came from, so a while back, Pizza Hut used to give out PlayStation 1 demo discs, and they'd have games on them or whatever. And so whenever we went out, my family, they'd give me the game. They'd be like, oh, here's a new game. I'd be like, oh, awesome. And so it had like little demos of games that were coming out. And one of them had Final Fantasy VIII on them. And that was my first time ever experiencing a turn-based style like Final Fantasy type game. So I think that was my first ever experience with a Square game, and also my first Final Fantasy game. And from there, I like went on and played like Legend of Dragoon, and then Kingdom Hearts, and it just kept going into this spiral. But for Square Enix, it was
Legend of Dragoon. It is such an underappreciated game.
I absolutely love Legend of Dragoon, and I wish it would get an HD master or something.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
like
a good game.
It's like the year for HD remasters and things. I mean,
Spyro,
Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Shadow of the Colossus, like all these games are being like brought back, and I'm loving it. So hopefully it's in the cards.
If they make a Dragoon remake, I will cry. I love that game so much.
Let's start a petition. Bring it back.
It was definitely that. And then my first anime, like many, it was probably like Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z. And then from there, from something that wasn't on Cartoon Network at the time. It like there used to be this. I don't know if it's still around. Anime net. There was like an anime network, anime news network or something. And then yeah, I think it all started probably with like Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z. Those are the ones Saturday morning cartoons that that no one like classified as anime at the time.
Mm.
Yeah, no one
It
knew
was
any of
just
that was from Japan. It was just
Just the
cartoons.
cartoon.
I think that my first Square Enix game I think was probably FF7, but I didn't play it. I just looked at it adoringly in the video game rental store because I didn't have a game system, or at least I didn't have a PlayStation for a very long time. So I just looked at the spiky-haired Cloud and was just like, I want to be you. And that was as far as things went. I've never gotten very far in Final Fantasy VII to this day, but I think it was probably Kingdom Hearts. Like I read a video game magazine entry about Kingdom Hearts, and that's what got me interested enough to ask for a PlayStation for my birthday. I think that was my first foray into Square Enix for sure. I thought Sora was a girl initially for a long time because I was familiar with the name Sora from Digimon. So I'm like, oh, look at this cool spiky-haired girl main character. This is awesome. And at the time I was a major tomboy, so it was like, yeah, like finally a character who's like me.
And then there was Kairi.
And then yeah.
Oh, poor Kyrie.
Well, no, I grew to really like Kairi actually. Riku was originally my favorite character because he was everyone's favorite anti-hero, but yeah, Kingdom Hearts is probably the first game I actually fully played.
I think
seeing...
I was actually
Oh, I was gonna say that I just remember seeing Kingdom Hearts commercials on Disney Channel.
Me too.
What?
I was thinking like, what is this thing?
Yeah, they used to play Kingdom Hearts commercials nonstop on Disney Channel.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes. I just remember being like Mickey Mouse in that organization code. That's the one I remember the most. And I was just kind of like, what on earth is that? That was like my first ever experience, like look into Kingdom Hearts was just Mickey Mouse in his black coat looking all angry into the distance.
I'm sad I never got to see those.
When I was a kid, I was huge into crossovers, so that was like a dream come true for me.
It was a friend of mine who actually introduced me to Kingdom Hearts. I kind of want to see if I can find those commercials now. Like
you can find them on YouTube, but they're like really low resolution.
Oh, that's a shame.
That good 360p.
All right. So
The first Square Enix game that I ever played, I've been thinking about this. I think that the first Square Enix game I ever played was Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance. And you know how video games on the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, they always had like title of franchise that wasn't actually a franchise, and then it had like this long-winded like subtitle.
Yeah.
Like that was basically every game on the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. So I didn't know that Kingdom Hearts was a series. So I played Chain of Memories and I'm like, I don't know who this Sora kid is.
That game must have been so confusing for you. Oh my
I know.
god.
It's like jumping in the middle.
Because they did a pretty good job of sort of giving it its own self-contained stuff. And then when I played Riku's side, I just assumed that was the other half. When I played Reverse Rebirth, I'm like, oh, now the story makes enough sense for me to be like, yeah, I'm glad that my grandmother bought me this. And that was like my favorite game for a very, very long time. And then in I think like my freshman year of high school, my friends just like, oh, you played Chain of Memories. Have you ever, what do you think of Kingdom Hearts 2? And I'm like, well, there wasn't a 1, unless you want to call that 1. I don't know why. How'd they go from Chain of Memories to 2? So I had no idea that it was a franchise, and like all of these games had been coming out under my nose as I was like still playing my Game Boy Advance game, because I never had PlayStation systems. I always had Nintendo systems, so I had no idea.
That's so odd because like I've never heard of someone starting with Chain of Memories. Usually the story, like most people, it's like they played Kingdom Hearts 1 and then they went straight to Kingdom Hearts 2 without playing Chain of Memories at all, and everyone was confused. They're like, who? They're called Organization 13, but there's only 8 of them in the game.
Or like
Yeah,
they
that one
played
was
Kingdom
me.
Hearts 2 first. I know a lot of people that played Kingdom Hearts 2 first. And I'm like, why would you pick up a game that's called 2 and play it first? Granted, I did that with Fable 2.
Yeah, surely you would like think, oh, there must be a one somewhere. I should really play
And it's
that
not like
one
it came out on
first.
a different system. Like, at least with, like, Fable 2, it was the only Fable that was on the 360. So, like, you just got a 360, and then you're like, oh, this is the game that is out for it. But, like, they were both on the same, like, platform. So,
That's true. Maybe they thought it was like Final Fantasy, where it's like none of them are the same. Like the numbered ones don't really link up.
the only
Like,
ones that are connected, that aren't like -2, are Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 10 apparently take place on the same planet. And like
I've heard
I don't
that.
know if I can believe that.
it's in the Ultimania, but there's literally no evidence.
Yeah, it's like one of those sort of like almost fan conspiracy things in a way, where it's like very subtly hinted to that they actually are in the same like planet or whatever. I've heard
And
that
then they
sort of
made
before.
chalk it up.
it was the best.
I sort of chalk it up to Nomura. Just be like, yes, they are connected. Sure.
Why not?
All right,
Like-
so just
like
picture for a
Nomura is-
second.
Oh, I
Reminds
cannot
me
imagine.
of,
Nomura writing his villain for his next game, and he's like, "What if this guy was actually the guy from the last game, but has a completely different name and a completely different story?"
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
Sephiroth becoming Sin.
Someone in the comments was like, imagine someone playing Kingdom Hearts 3 as their first Kingdom Hearts game.
God, they're gonna be so
Triggered.
long. Imagine somebody playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and they've only played the numbered ones. Marluxia
That's
is
my
in
entire
the
timeline.
game.
The amount of people when that dropped are just like, who's the pink-haired guy? Who's the guy with the mask? And I'm just like, you didn't
Oh.
play the other ones?
Yeah, I know.
And there was so many
I
friends
love that.
on Facebook that I'm friends with, like, I don't play the spin-off titles. I'm like, but they're not spin-offs.
They're not
No, they're
spin-offs,
not
they're
spin-offs.
important.
I
The
love
entire
that Goofy
setup for
meme.
KH3
I just-
happened in Dream Drop. They're shooting themselves in the foot there.
Well, they just released all the compilations, the 1.5 and 2.5, so
And the
there's
2.8.
kinda so many decimals.
So I have
Alright. No, go.
do you
go.
have one?
Huh? One what?
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 Oh,
I don't know.
how?
Ask a question.
So what cosplay have you done that you wish more people had paid attention to? A character that you did that wasn't very popular, but the costume meant a lot to you, so it didn't get as much attention as you feel like it deserved for how much it meant to you.
Oh, it's not Square Enix related, but I did Lorne from Buffy, and I was I kind of went into the con kind of expecting no one's gonna know who the hell I am, but
That's
I
the
love the
green guy,
character.
right?
I'm gonna yeah, it's the green guy. So I did it, and only like 3 people recognized who I was. But already like I said, I got into that con with that mindset that no one was gonna know who I was. So having just 3 people know who I was enough for me. But I do wish that like more people had kind of recognized the character, or at least like knew of him. Because Lorne's really fun. That was actually the first Comic-Con my boyfriend went to and actually cosplayed with me. I will post a picture if I've got one. Because he looks so cute as a vampire. Doo-doo-doo-doo. There it is. There we go. I have got one. Ha ha ha. There we go.
Oh, that's super cute.
It's super cute. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
he was
You guys are
he was
adorable.
like Gazzi, are you serious? I was like, yes. Trust me, he would rather I've just left him in the artist alley and he'd just spend the whole day there. But I was like, nope, we're dressing up, we're walking around, deal with it.
He doesn't have an opinion there. He's not allowed one.
No. But nah, he had fun. He was like, it's a lot different to cons in Mexico. So I think he liked it. I hope he liked it.
The question's a little odd for me just because, like, at this point in my cosplay career, I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, if they like, yeah, I'm gonna do this cosplay, it's gonna be out of nowhere, and if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, at least I liked it.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying with Lawn. Like, I was already in the mindset that people weren't gonna know what it was, but like,
Yeah,
it just made it. It was. I was glad that at least 3 people knew who I was.
that's how I felt when I did Malchior of Null, who is this one-off character from the original Teen Titans series that Raven falls in love with. He lives
Oh
inside a
god,
book.
that guy. I loved
Oh
him.
yeah.
I did him randomly because he was a character that I don't know, like something about him I always loved when I was a kid watching the Teen Titans show. And so once I got enough to make armor, I was like, yes, I'm cosplaying Malchior of Null from episode like 17 of this Teen Titans series. He only shows up once. I don't care if no one knows who he is. And so I did it. And to my surprise, there is a following for Malchior or Rorik is his like real name. And I was just like, I was astonished by it, but that was the cosplay. I was just like, I don't care if no one knows who this is. I'm making a full suit of armor and the stupid wig for this because I just really love this character.
Mm. Oh, that's awesome that there was like this sort of unknown community for it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think actually cosplays that are like more unknown or unusual are often more fun because I feel like the people who know the series or the character when they encounter somebody else who knows it, like that excitement is like amplified so much. Like I have seen cosplays that I've never seen before and have like darted across an entire convention just to go tell that person how much I love their cosplay.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was like we were walking through. This is again my lawn. We're walking through Artist Alley, and I just heard this "you," and I turned around and there's this woman pointing at me, summoning me over, just to tell me how like she's never seen a lawn cosplay before.
Yeah,
But
when
yeah,
they're
you're
like
right.
unusual.
It totally amplifies that excitement level to see that character.
Totally. I find often too that like the cosplays or the pictures in general that like I'm most proud of generally are not as well received as ones that I could give less of a shit about. Like it just like I think some of my like most viewed pictures on like DeviantArt are like me as Luigi, which is like this thing I threw together in a day that I enjoyed but was not great and like that I wouldn't want to show people because it was like done for friends. But it seems like those ones always end up being the most well received. So I guess I don't know. It's just that luck of the draw sort of thing.
It's like
Sort
that
of
same
like
thing.
how...
Oh.
You go.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's like that same sort of thing of like when you take a selfie and the selfie like blows up, but if you do a photo shoot for the whole entire thing, it's like crickets in the background.
Oh.
And that like often really dissuades me from doing photo shoots because I'm just like, well, I mean, not that like it matters if my photos get viewed or not, who cares? But it's like, well, if I could like if this selfie is what folks want to see, then why would I go off into the woods? Like it's just it's so weird. Like I could be in my bathroom, nice and warm. But yeah, it is funny how that happens. I don't know.
The same thing actually happens with artists. They'll draw a funny little doodle on a scrap of paper, and it'll get all kinds of attention. It'll blow up. It'll go basically viral. But they work for hours and hours and hours and hours on this huge project, and Maybe some of their friends see it, but that's it.
Yeah, my Lewis has the same thing. Like he draws and he's incredible. Um, and I remember like one of his most viewed and liked and commented like images was this really silly like Reddit gets drawn doodle thing that he did. And he actually hates this picture. He thinks it's really bad, but it's like one of his most popular drawings, and he doesn't understand why.
All right. Anything else to add on this one, or are we gonna move forward?
I think we can move forward.
All right. The next question is actually kind of funny. Kimsey asks, "Are photo shoots worth it? And what would you suggest for locations, things like that?"
Not the top of a parking garage.
Or a frozen Nordic hillside, according to twins.
Or in the shadows of cars inside a parking garage.
I mean, if you've put like a lot of work into a cosplay, I feel like you should do a photo shoot. You should try and get like really good images to show off how much hard work you put into that. And I feel like it's just a nice way to kind of round that off. Um, I mean that's something is personally that I always forget that I should like take nice professional looking photos after doing like all this work on a costume, and then I'll wear it for like a con and get really blurry pictures taken by my friends and not have anything nice to then show people later on. So I feel like if it's something that you want to like show more of, then definitely have photo shoots. Um, and I feel like you don't have to go find this elaborate location. For my splicer, it was taken in like the living room of my boyfriend's house, and we just like draped a black sheet over on the wall, and just took pictures of me in front of that sheet, and they like I love those pictures. They came out beautiful, and we didn't even like go find anything that looked kind of run down or anything like that. We just took them on a plain black background, and for me that was like I loved them.
All you really need is a very small amount of space, and a very neutral backdrop. You can do a lot with.
Yeah.
You find a place that has like 4 flowers in a small garden that you can get in between a building and a tree, and you have a nice location. You have like a stone building behind you. Like there, you don't need a lot of fancy backdrops. But also looking for trails in your local area. There's a trail that I found just by seeing what trails were in my town, the one that I lived in at the time, and I found an empty drainage pipe that I got some like really cool horror shoot pictures done at. I found some old train tracks. You can find a lot if you just explore your local area.
Yeah. I used to live near a beach, and a bunch of my friends we just went down there in kind of these like school uniform cosplays for Kingdom Hearts. So we did like the Destiny Island plot in school uniform, and we just took pictures of the beach. Like we didn't even have to go very far. We just walked down the road and we are on the beach. But yeah, again, like you can take pictures if you have like a nice garden, or if it's just a patch of grass, as long as it like the lighting's great and you can pose or show off your costume, then you're set to go really.
I feel like sometimes the fun of photo shoots that are in like new and exciting locations is like the actual process of like going there and exploring and finding the cool shots. Like I can think of some shoots that I don't think great photos came out of, but that I had a ton of fun at, like just exploring like parks I've never been to or trails I've never been on and things like that, and trying new shots or angles or discovering new locations. I mean, I like doing that in general, and I think that that's always a kind of fun thing to do in cosplay for sure. But I mean, to get a lot of like really cool like like stylish shots, it's definitely not uncommon for folks to use a neutral backdrop and lighting too. You can do a lot with that.
I think a big aspect of it is your accessibility and how much you actually want to put into cosplay. Because the more you put into cosplay, the more you get out of it. And some people don't want to spend this money because, like, not everyone has a photography friend, not everyone has a camera of their own. I'm fortunate enough that I have my own camera, and I've trained my fiance to take photos for me. He takes all my photos, and so I'm more fortunate because I have someone who's always here that I can just be like, hey, I'm going to be in this cosplay today. Can you take photos? And we're almost always like, yeah, sure. We'll just do it in like an hour or so. When it comes to locations, like they said, a backdrop is just fine. It's fine. Just look for some good lighting in a backdrop. That the main focus is your cosplay for first and foremost, rather than the background. The background comes second. So as long as if you're highlighting your cosplay, then that's the main drawn aspect. When it comes to picking a photo shoot location, I think it all just depends on your character and what you think would suit them best. Because if you're doing like Naruto, you can be like, okay, they're like constantly in the trees in the woods, so I can just go in my backyard and go outside. I can go to the park nearby, and I'll be a perfect location. But like, unless if you're doing someone like Alucard from Castlevania and it's very Victorian and you need like a castle and stuff, just a simple like headshot with your black backdrop or just any backdrop just works wonders. It works just fine. I've only recently started going into the whole green screen, putting myself into this like new location and stuff. And while it's a lot of work, you do get a lot out of it, which just goes back to what I said at the start. It just depends on how much you want to put into it. 'Cause the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
And if you're willing to
Definitely.
spend a little bit of money, then you can also look for graphics online of different textures, and have them printed on like large paper and create your own backdrops as well.
You can also like rent out. Look, I mean, this is more so for filming videos and stuff, but you can rent out to a lot of places. Like I know a lot of, especially with Yuri on Ice, a lot of folks were trying to film on ice, and it is challenging to do something when you're at like a public skate and there are like 50 other people there. But you can, I mean, I at least here, like if you get like a really late night ice time, like you can rent it out for like, I mean, not cheap, but it at an affordable-ish price. So like sometimes like if you're planning to do a big shoot or something, it can pay off to find a location and to rent it or to look into rentable locations if you're able to afford that, because then you don't have to worry about like guerrilla filming or stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
pretend to be renting it out for like a birthday party or something.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
can imagine.
And you can also a lot of public places and public historical sites will allow you to, if you just call ahead and ask permission. Like I had to call a couple different libraries in my area, but I was able to do a Bell photo shoot in a really nice library because I just called ahead and I asked if they would be okay with that. And some churches are a little bit shaky because they might cancel on you at the last minute. I've had multiple churches cancel on me at the last minute because they decided, even though I'd been talking to them for like 2 weeks, that cosplay is what Satanists do or something like that. So
Wow.
it was ridiculous. I have had them cancel on me while I was driving to the location, and I've had them cancel on me when I got there.
Wow.
Often if you use the excuse of we're filming for a film project or we're shooting for a magazine, that's just a bit less of like a red flag for people. Like we were filming at a school I attended, and a security guard came up to us. We thought it was game over because he was just like, what are you guys doing with that camera? And we're just like, oh, we're film students. We're filming for a project. And we weren't film students, but we're filming for a project. And then he got all excited. He's like, oh, do you guys want to use the gym? I can open that for you. Or do you want to use this room? I can open it up for you. So he was like super accommodating because he he knew we weren't there to do harm or to spy. Like we were doing a project. So it can sometimes pay off to just let people know what you're doing.
And a lot of more historical sites. If you say that you would be willing to take photos of the location, like professional looking photos of the location, for them to use to advertise their historical site, then a lot of the time they'll let you do it for free or for a discount if you provide them with nice photos of their location that they can put on their historical site pages.
If I might interject an opinion when it comes to are photo shoots worth it? My take is that everyone goes into cosplay with different things, and everyone wants something different out of it. For one person, a photo shoot might be to show what they're doing, what they're proud of. For another person, it might be to prove to themselves that what they made was actually a success, that they did a good job with it. So
Yeah,
no matter what approach you come from, I think that give it a try, give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what I was saying about my one is that I put all this effort into my costumes, and then I'll get one blurry picture, a con of it. So at least if I'm providing my like making a photo shoot, then I've got something I can then show and put on a portfolio, as well as I have my own nice image of this costume that I worked so hard on. And it's nice to have a nice crisp image of that with some really cool like lightings or effects or things like that.
It's
And if
really
the
confidence building if you can.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying that it's really confidence building if you see yourself, your image, but looking at its best, looking at your best. It can be something that you lean on when you're not feeling your best.
Yeah, I like that's all of that is really true. It's a lot. Like I said, like I posted some images on my splicer, and that's just in the living room with a black sheet, and we had a red and green light bulb in two different lamps, and I love those images. And again, I had Lewis like telling me like, okay, move your arm down and arch your back this way. And they're my favorite images of my cosplay, which is funny because like that particular cosplay was like just a very quick Halloween thing. But they're my favorite pictures of my costume because they just like I feel like I look really good in them. The lighting is awesome, and we didn't have to like pay ridiculous amounts to book out a place or get a photographer. Like I was lucky that Lewis has a fantastic camera. He's a fantastic photographer. But again, this was just like a couple of like I don't know, they were in pesos, but it was like some colored bulbs that didn't cost that much. And we just put them in two lamps, and that was it. Like we were set.
And there are also, if you contact your local, if you look and see if there's like a local group, like on Facebook or something, for a convention in your area, there are a lot of aspiring cosplay photographers, aspiring photographers in general, that will reach out to these groups or scour these groups for people who are willing to do shoots with them for a discounted rate or even free, just to build up their portfolios. So you might be able to get some potentially really nice photos from somebody for cheap or free if the financial side of things is a barrier for you.
In relation to go ahead, Gazzi.
No, Dave, you go ahead.
Just in relation to photos and confidence. I think Guile brought it up earlier, but just like a really good tool in general, I think for building confidence, or something to have or to take for yourself when you're feeling not so great about yourself is selfies. Like a really great tool for like when folks are like feeling down about themselves or experiencing dysphoria is to take a selfie of yourself at an angle, right? Like in a controlled space that you can look at and say like, yeah, like that highlights the features I really like about myself, instead of like often we look in the mirror and see the features we don't like. So when you can control that in a photo, it can be a really great way of looking past that like overcritical like self-talk that a lot of us experience, and like have something reflective of like of positive self-image. And I know that I take selfies a lot when I'm feeling not so great about myself. And so I think photography kind of works in the same way. you have something that's reflective of maybe the way like other people see you, but maybe that you don't always see yourself as.
Yeah. And to kind of grow on that, like if you can take selfies and then like you can kind of learn maybe I'll tip my face this way, like point my head like sorry, point my face in this direction, and it will like make the image look different. Like I think by taking pictures of yourself, you can kind of learn what looks good, so you can then remember to do that when you have pictures taken in the future. It's kind of like to help me get into character for like if I'm cosplaying someone, I'll try to pull the facial expressions. Like I generally stood in front of a mirror practicing my Demix grin just so that I knew I had it down when I had a picture, when someone wanted a picture with my Demix cosplay. And
Actually,
then to
sorry.
no, go ahead.
Actually, as speaking from my modeling background, that is actually something that is recommended for models is practicing positioning your body and facial expressions in a mirror. So. So that you know that when I feel like this, that means that I am at this angle, and that is what it looks like to a photographer, somebody who is sitting at the end of this runway that I'm walking on. You have a general idea of how your muscles work and in what ways you can position yourself, and that helps a lot. That is actually something that that professional models will do, is practice expressions and stuff in the mirror. So that's actually you feel absolutely ridiculous doing it, but it's actually exceedingly helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Like again with the whole kind of Demix grin, I had an actual compliment on the Demix grin. They were like, "You've got Demix's smile like down," and it's funny because I was just kind of like in the mirror pulling this face, and I was like, "Gazzi, you're such an idiot." But for then someone to have said like, "You know what? No, you look good. You look just like Demix," was kind of like, "Yeah, it was worth making an idiot of myself in the mirror for like 15 minutes or whatever." Um, so yeah, like all of that stuff, you can teach yourself how to pose in things for photo shoots.
Yeah, 100%. I do that for every cosplay I make. Before I go to a con, I figure out what poses I'm gonna do, how my face will look, how I'm gonna angle everything. Like for every character, I'll
Yeah.
like try to you just even if you don't want to act like the character the whole time you're in your cosplay, if you resonate that character from a photo just from your pose, like it just brings your cosplay more to life than you just standing there with your arms down and like with unpoor posture and just like looking away. But
Definitely.
yeah,
Like
100%.
And preparing ahead of
everyone's
time
gonna
is
go home
always
and
a good
practice now.
idea. Otherwise, you end up at the convention and someone says, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And you just stand there like, I didn't plan this far ahead."
Yeah. Yeah. Like I made sure that like for the talk today, Gazzy. I make sure for my characters I have at least several different poses in my head that I can do. So I'm not just pulling the same pose for every photo. I've at least got like, okay, like say I'm Demix, okay, oh he leans on his sitar this way, or I can pick up the sitar and have it that way, or like just things like that. Like to have some like pre-decided poses helps a massive amount too. And again it adds to like getting in character and things like that. Which again helps when you're taking photos at a photo shoot or just at con with people taking pictures of you.
So I do have another question before I'll set on this topic. I'm talking about Riku's broken keyblade. What aspect of cosplay do you think is your biggest weakness?
Ooh,
A lot. Like,
makeup.
can I say
Yeah, like
almost
there's lots.
everything?
I mean,
The
there's definitely
confidence
things.
here is inspiring.
There's definitely things that I feel like I have massively improved on since I've started. Like I've gone into this hobby from knowing nothing about sewing my own clothes, about styling wigs, or any kind of like makeup ideas or anything like this. All I knew was kind of like, okay, I can paper mache and I can use corrugated cardboard for this stuff. And like that was like with the knowledge I went into this hobby having, and I feel like I've massively improved. I mean, I even felt good enough to do my own wig tutorial, which when I first started out, I mean, you saw my first cosplay, that one single spike on the top of my head for Sora, atrocious. But at least now I feel like I've learned enough that I can actually make a tutorial and feel like, okay, I can pass this knowledge on because I feel like I have definitely learned enough to show that off. And for me, I do feel like my next thing that I want to learn is kind of like more makeup stuff. Like, I don't tend to do a lot to just my face when I've cosplay. I'm like, okay, I've got the wig, I've got the costume, I've made the prop, but then I'm like, I have no idea what to do if I need to do eye makeup or like should I do eye makeup? Like this is the next thing that I want to learn when it comes to that. So I'd say maybe that stuff's my weakness. Zombie stuff is easy. You just if you go wrong, you just cover it with blood. But like makeup for a cosplay is a little bit more trickier.
I'm trying to get better at makeup, but once I started doing even just base makeup, then I feel like both my cosplays and my confidence have just like dramatically shifted.
Hmm.
I like can't do makeup, so I cannot do my own eyeliner at all.
I can't.
try. It doesn't
It's
work.
so
Like
hard.
I look at the mirror and hold the pen in front of my eye, and my hand just like wiggles, my eye wiggles, and then I just pray for Nova to eventually notice my struggle and come over and do it for me, because that's the only way it's gonna look good. So can't do that. I can't. I'm not great at sewing still. I still mess up a lot for sure. I'm not very good at prop making at all. It's something I really struggle with. I'm terrible at posing. Like I can't pose worth a damn. I'm all awkward bodied and weird about it. Like there's a lot that I struggle with and a lot that I think I'm not very good at. But I keep trying to get a little bit better, but by no means do I think I'm very good at a lot of things.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
10
Like
years in too.
yeah, exactly. Like even as far as we've come, I feel like I've still got a long way to still go. But that's the part of the beauty of cosplay is that you can still grow and develop. And I love coming back to a cosplay that I might have done years ago and like beefing it back up with all the new knowledge that I now have. Like it just shows just how much you have learned. So when you feel like, oh, I'm no good at sewing or I'm no good at makeup or I can't make props. But when you look back on things and see, okay, this is where I started and this is where I'm at now, it kind of inspires me to keep going at the very least. Like, okay, I don't feel like I'm very confident sewing, but I'm much better than when I started. So I'm obviously doing something right and I should just keep going.
I definitely agree that even if you feel like you're not particularly good at something, it's a lot. After you've been doing it for long enough, then you can still look back and see that you are infinitely better than when you started.
But you can only compare yourself to yourself, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
like you're not comparable to anyone else but your own experience. So I mean, if I can get to the point where I can like do some eyeliner, like if I can keep that pen straight for like a half a freaking minute, then I'm winning. So maybe I'll.
Do you cry like I do? Because like whenever anything comes near my eyes, I flinch and I start crying.
My eyes just like shake uncontrollably. Like I've had several people try to do my eyeliner and they're just like, I don't know what's wrong with your eyes. Like
twitching.
So weird.
So I just cry. I don't know what it is. My eyes just like they start leaking. Like contacts are the same. Anything that comes near my face or like my eyes, I'm just like I weep and I have no idea why it does that.
I think it's a self-preservation thing.
Maybe.
I can't get the eyeliner to me. Like it just does not like I either have to like try and jam the pencil down against my skin and still it doesn't like stick, or I try and do liquid eyeliner and it doesn't stick unless it's like to my brow. And I'm trying to pull the pen away and be like, it's not working.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys encountered fake eyelashes yet?
Wait,
No.
I've not worn
Oh, there's
them, but I've
fingers.
had to try and put them on a friend, and that is the most fiddliest thing I've ever had to deal with. And I mean, I can only imagine how people glue them onto themselves, because I was asked by a friend to glue her fake eyelashes on, and I just couldn't understand the science of this. So I was like, okay, so I put a bit of glue along the edge, and now I've got to stick it to your face, and I don't understand why it's not sticking. But yeah, the fake false eyelashes are evil.
Nipah,
I
have you
wore
encountered? Oh, go ahead.
oh, I've worn falsies for Kyrie recently when I cosplayed Kyrie from Kingdom Hearts 2.
I
I
love
wore
your Kyrie
falsies for
Beautiful.
cosplay.
her. Thank you. But yeah, when I did Kyrie, I encountered falsies for her, and those were the absolute worst. Like I'm slowly getting the hand of doing character makeup more, because I can do a base face like fine now after doing it for a bit, but doing makeup that is character makeup, which a good example of character makeup would be Allison Tabitha, who does
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh God,
she's an actual wizard.
wow.
like unlike a lot of us who we cosplay anime characters, cartoon characters, video game characters, so a lot of it's up to interpretation of how their makeup would look.
Yeah.
And no matter how you do it, you're still gonna be like, okay, I look like this character because they're a cartoon, they're 2D or whatever. But doing character makeup out of a real life person who exists in our world is a completely different ball game. Like if you're trying to look like Johnny Depp, or you're trying to look like Mila Jovovich or something of the sort, anything like that, trying to look like a Star Wars actor, it's a completely different field, and it's something I really want to try myself, and it's something that I'm currently working on at the moment that I'd really like to explore more into.
Yeah,
just
like that. Like I
yourself form
definitely
a
feel like
study
that's
group.
the next thing I need to learn is character makeup stuff.
Same. I feel like all five of us should start a study group, and
Oh, hells yeah!
we'll all
I
figure it out
love
together.
that. We'll learn together.
Just a Skype call where we're all crying, trying to put makeup on our eyes.
All weeping, trying to glue eyelashes on and can't do eyeliner. We just end up looking like clowns. It'll be beautiful. I love it.
It'd be a good time.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Get eyeliner on one eye and you do the other one, and it immediately is way too big, so you have to go and make the other one bigger, and then eventually
And
we
just
just
end up
like look
bigger
like
and bigger and bigger.
raccoons.
They're sisters,
Yeah, well-
not twins. The eyes are always sisters.
Very true. Very wise words to live by.
I
Nothing is
love
ever
that.
a twin. They're always just related. Well, except for
That's
twin.
beautiful.
Like,
I'm totally stealing that.
Twin Fool's the least symmetrical person we know.
Oh my god, sometimes my eyes look like completely different eyes. Because there's one that Nova's done, and then she's like, you can do the other one. And I'm just, nope.
No.
Yeah, no, it's something I like. If anyone has really good like eyeliner tutorials, I would love to see them, because it's just not. It's not
Nipah,
something
you're
we'll
our only
do.
hope.
Yeah.
Everyone turns to the gorgeous Axel makeup profile picture. Help us.
I only know how to do a wing, and I'm just like, okay, I got this down. The only reason I can do eye makeup at all is because in grade school and stuff, it was like a sort of party trick I would do, like because it grossed out like a lot of my friends growing up. They were like, want to see me touch my eye, and I would just constantly do it.
Heathen. No.
And
I can't stand that.
it freaked out my best friend so much every time I did it. So I would constantly do it around her, and I'd be like, hey, look over here. And she'd be like, what? And I'd just touch my eye. All of a sudden, she would scream.
Oh, you're a monster. I feel her pain.
So-
Gross.
So me torturing my friend helped me out later, because now I can just like
Poke
contact.
your eye. Ugh. My
That
first
was my,
experience with contact lenses was fun. It was for work. We do this like dress up days every now and then, and it was for my first Halloween shift there. And I had to put these like whiteout contact lenses in my eye, and I just couldn't, and it was really frustrating me. So I had my two housemates. One sat on me and had put my arms on the floor so I couldn't get them off of me, while the other one held my eyelids open and dropped the contact lens in. It was the only way I could get those things into my face.
that sounds like actual torture, though. you sure they're your
I
friends?
know. I was like, my legs were like kicking. I was like, I can't. And they're like, we're gonna get these in your eyes.
That sounds like hell.
I know. I'm just like really like concerned about like damaging my eyes. So anything that comes near them, I'm just like, please no, God. But now I can do contact lenses. But yeah, my first ever experience of contact lenses, I had two of my friends pin me down and force them into my eyes.
My first experience with contact lenses was I went to see an eye doctor, and she shoved them into my eyes, and I tried to tell her that they were burning, and she didn't believe me. She said I was lying.
No.
So I went back to a different doctor a couple days later because they burned. They definitely were burning, and she went, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're those are not the right size at all. Oh my God."
No way.
So
Never ever go back to the optician.
I almost ruined my eyes because she gave me the complete wrong size and then told me I was lying when I said my eyes hurt.
Oh my God, that's
God.
evil.
So I'm
See,
like,
this
I'm
is
really
what I
glad that I
mean.
didn't. I'm
This
really
is why
glad that I didn't
it's
listen and went back, but oh my God.
good. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
My
that's
first
good. That's a
experience
good.
with
I was just gonna say that's a good point. Make sure with you guys cosplaying, make sure you know where your contacts are coming from.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, don't force them into your head.
And if they hurt, take them out.
Yes, don't
Yeah.
don't
Right
take
not
away.
suffer
control. They
through
will
it.
go away because you know if they hurt, you've probably got them in the wrong way around or they're the wrong size. So don't. Yeah, your eyes are precious. You only get one set. Do not
Mhm.
fuck them up.
And at the
And
end of
always,
it, like no one's gonna be like, "Oh, your eyes aren't this distinct shade of blue." Da, da, da. Like if contacts hurt you to put in, like or they're a struggle, you don't need them. Honestly, it's a
No,
cosmetic thing.
seriously.
It's just something that to add that little extra, but you honestly do not need them.
and
No.
you can also adjust your eye color in Photoshop or various other like free photo apps. So it's
Without
something that
stabbing
you
your
can,
eye.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have to sacrifice your eyes for it. So like I had before I was able to wear contacts, I did a Xerneas Pidgeonka from Pokemon, and I was able to go into Photoshop with one of the photos and make my eyes like a glowing blue. And people thought that they were contacts, but no, it was just a color filter.
Mm,
It was on a free app,
nice.
and I didn't even have to stab myself in the eyes. And
Always an
always
added
always
bonus.
go to see an optometrist to be
Yeah.
properly sized for a set of contacts. Don't go to the optometrist that I went to. Go to a different one. But if you're wearing if you're wearing contacts that are the wrong size, then they can do serious damage to your eyes. You need to know your actual
Yeah.
measurements.
See, I did a Syax cosplay and I had these yellow contacts in, and the left one kept sliding up and going like underneath my eyelid, and it freaked me out to the point where I was like, fuck it, Syax has blue eyes, I'm not doing this. I took him out. Like I say, if you think something's wrong, don't just like keep them in and just think, oh, it'll get better. If you generally think something's up with them, take them out.
Mm-hmm.
I know a person who had a panic one morning because one of her contact lenses were ripped, but she tried to put them into her eye anyway.
No.
Did you remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was really distressed because she was doing uh partner cosplay with her sister that she had worked on for months. And then because she had fingernails for the cosplay, so she had like fake fingernails on, and they ended up ripping the contact. And she was so distressed at losing all of that work, she tried to shove the contact into her eye anyway. And
Wow.
she ended up having to go to a doctor like right away because she almost tore her cornea right open by trying to put like a broken contact in her eye. So
Health and safety first. Health and safety first.
Yeah,
Always
yeah.
and
Yes.
forever.
always,
If
always,
something
always.
hurts, don't do it. Oh boy.
That reminds
Oh,
me, there was a local cosplayer guy in the Texas community who his girlfriend was styling a wig while he was getting ready in his cosplay, and when she was spraying the hairspray, apparently it got into an open contact case that he was about to put the lens in, and he didn't notice it. And so he put the lenses in, and they were fine. But then he started to feel like they were burning after a bit, and the lens apparently because he was using Gazzi, which is basically glue in a can, sprayable glue.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the
So
reason
when he,
the wig didn't melt when I jumped in a pool with it.
when he took out the lens, he took out part of his cornea with it.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
Oh god.
He
Why
recovered.
is
He's
this
recovered, and he's
Q&A thing,
100% fine.
Okay, that's good.
Like he's okay now, and his cornea grew back, and everything's fine. But
Oh,
he, yeah, it was a big con horror story, like for like so long amongst like a bunch of people. But yeah,
Oh,
so
Lord.
always please change out your contact fluid. Change out like weekly, however much you need to do it to feel safe. Like don't if the contact has shriveled up and like your contact fluid is like if you because sometimes if you forget about contacts they'll shrivel up. Do not try to bring them back to life by adding more contact fluid and just letting them sit. Don't do that. That's not safe. Just throw the contact away. It's not worth it. I know contacts can be expensive, but your eyes are more expensive.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth like damaging yourself over.
And there's also usually colored look at how long they're good for, because certain contacts are made for like 2 weeks, certain contacts are made for a month, but most like Korean circle lenses are good for a year. But don't wait to the full year. Throw them out after like 10 months max, and that's if you're only wearing them like once a month or so, and keeping up with the solution, because after that they start to get tacky, and they will either not go into your eyes, God bless, or they will stick to your eye and you will not be able to get them out.
Oh, that's creepy.
So that's what happens when a contact expires, for anyone who is curious about that. They get tacky.
For my contacts, I get the ear ones, and I make sure I change the fluid if I can every month at the very least. But yeah, like Via said, like I don't keep them the whole year. I just go buy new ones, and your eyes are priceless. Don't think, oh, but contacts are so expensive. Just don't even risk it.
A good idea.
I was gonna say, just a precaution with lenses. If you do invest in them and buy them, on the case, grab a Sharpie and write the date you got them and you open them on it. So it's a reminder of, okay, this is when I opened these. They're good for this long, and you can write on the other side of how long these contacts are good for. Let's see, because there's even daily contacts that exist that are just for like 1 day use only.
Yep.
So
a lot of the Halloween lenses are for one-time use. That's actually a really good idea. Another precaution that Van takes is that he's started buying all of his contacts for his planned cosplays for the year the same time of year, so that he knows that when this time of year is rolling around, oh, it's time to order my new contacts. It's time to throw these ones out.
I don't know if you guys have it at your cons, but in MCM they actually have people who sell contact lenses at the Comic-Con. Like they're actually there with their own market stall, and they have a massive wide range of
Unfortunately, yeah.
contact lenses. So I don't know.
Yeah, usually the people who sell them at cons in our area aren't doing them legally, unfortunately.
Ours are a little bit more legit.
Yeah.
I might suggest what I was going to suggest then. Yeah, ours are more legit.
Make sure that they're a reputable seller, and not somebody who like bought a whole bunch on clearance and is trying to sell them because you don't know how long they've had them. You don't know if they're coming from a safe place.
Yeah, that's it too. Make sure you're buying safely.
Looking for reviews of things is infinitely helpful, because a lot of especially with Korean circle lenses, there will be the same brand sold by multiple places, So not everything that you get from Pinky Paradise is going to be good because it's all different brands. So make sure that you're paying attention to the reviews for the brand, for the specific lens, not just for the seller. So that's an important aspect as well. Ben, did you have the next question up, or?
Yes, let me. It stuck me to the bottom. Cool. Let me scroll. Quick,
We've got
make
about
more conversation.
We've got about 20 minutes left.
It's the final countdown.
I do have one more question that I have in my spot that's written down.
Oh,
All right.
bring that on then.
So, what is an aspect of cosplay that you really love and that you really love to do now, but was really, really hard to learn how to do? Like one of your skill sets, one of the things that you utilize in cosplay. It was sort of a hard barrier to entry.
Wigs. I absolutely
Yeah, I was gonna
hate
say wigs.
I could not.
I still kind of
wigs.
groan a little when it comes to a wig.
Like, I just could not wrap my hand around the concept of them. Like, I didn't know how people did the styling. I didn't know about anything about wigs, and it made me not want to do a bunch of characters that I've done eventually now. But at the start, it's what it threw me off of not cosplaying characters I really loved. But I was like, I can never do that cosplay because I have no idea how that wig would work, how the hair would work. But definitely 100%, 1,000% it's wigs. That's something that I hated going into it. And now it's something that I do almost every day is style wigs for myself, style wigs for friends. And I do like weekly commissions where I basically have wigs going out all the time now to different people because I've just grown to love styling wigs now.
So your
that's
biggest
cool.
fear became your greatest strength, basically.
I love that.
Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
See, like I said, I still groan when I think, oh god, I have to style that wig. But
I think it's
like I
fun
said,
now. It's weird.
really, though, I constantly think, oh crap, and then I have to get every single image I can find of this character's like head, so I can work out what it looks like at all angles. Because I'm just like, I
If
think I get
you
myself into panic.
A good tip for 3D characters that I've been doing for a long time is there's a free software called Miku Miku Dance called MMD.
Yes.
And you on DeviantArt, they've got tons of 3D models of characters. And
That's really
all I do is I download a 3D model, I put it in the software, and there you've got a perfect model that you can manipulate and rotate all around, and it's perfect for Kingdom Hearts characters. I use it all the time for any Kingdom Hearts wig to get an exact reference.
nice. See, I collect the playouts figures, so I was using those figures because I would have it physically in my hand and I could move it and stuff then. But yeah, that's a really good tip. I'll have to definitely look into those.
I've definitely never, I don't think I've ever been worried about wig styling. I think for a long time it was like the only thing I felt comfortable doing. And I think a part of that is because I feel like it's like you can get so into it. Like I feel most relaxed when I'm styling a wig because I think with wigs, they're sort of, you can't mess them up. They're so like, I mean, you can, but
I was gonna say that's a
they're so
lie.
like,
You can mess
you can
them
like
up.
cut them too short or whatever, but they're so like
Uh-huh.
improvisational. Like you just put your hands in the wig and you just feel it out into a shape. At least that's why, that's how I do it. I'm not very technical, I guess, but for me, it was like sewing for a long time. I hated sewing. I hated sewing details. I hated anything complex. And I think a part of that is because sewing is so technical and like you have to get A correct in order to do B, and then B depends on C being done correctly. And I hate instruction based stuff. So I was always just like, screw this. And then like I'd be like, why are my pants upside down? So I feel like I've gotten to a place though where like now that I understand how pants are made, like I don't have to use instructions because I get it. I get the order and sequence. So I'm able to do things more comfortably. And I think that's like a difference between people. Like some people are like really love like strict, precise instruction. and some people like really don't like that. And I think it's about like finding a way to do things in like the learning style that best suits you. Like if you don't like instruction, then figure out a way to like make it make contextual sense to you so you don't have to use the instructions. And vice versa. Like if you don't like sort of the freewheeling thing, like find a way to like write down the technical aspects so that you can do it more sequentially. But wigs, yeah, like I could just sit and style a wig and all of my worries go away, unless you get mad at the wig and then you just you gotta put it in a closet and give it a timeout.
I love that. See, it's interesting because like what you said about wigs is how I feel about props. I love when I get commissioned to make a prop, I get so excited, even if I have no idea the character, the franchise, whatever. The second I see these images of like the key, like whatever they want me to make, keyblade or these big gun things, I'm just like, oh, all of the possibilities, and I get really excited about like what materials I'm going to be using, and like.
And then when I see props, I'm just like, oh god, like that really scares me. So, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, we're like the yin and yang of each other.
Exactly.
I'm kind of curious now. What strength did you guys have when you came into cosplay? I'm gonna answer my own question now. So, like coming into cosplay, what was that thing you were like, okay, I've got this down, and like you were definitely comfortable in with your first cosplay? Because for me, it was definitely my props. I was like, okay, the costume I'm gonna buy, the wig's gonna look like my hair's gonna look awful, but that keyblade, I can make that. That's gonna look awesome. I'm just curious what you guys.
It was probably sewing actually that I came in. I was pretty comfortable because I had a lot of people around me who sewed already or were already really into cosplay at that time, or into just making clothing in general. And so I had a good support system when it came to sewing and watching people sew. My fiance was actually the one who taught me how to do basic sewing. And from there, he unleashed a monster.
A cosplayer was born. I love it.
Pretty much. And now he's just like, get off the sewing machine, go eat. And I'm just like, okay, one more seam.
And then there's Lewis who can't stitch a thing. Like he's useless with the needle and thread. How about you, twin?
Oh yeah, no, it was I don't even remember how or why this came up, but because I used to work on cosplays in like such a big group of people, and I was the least experienced of the group. I think like wigs just sort of fell because I couldn't do anything else, so I depended on everyone else to help me sew or help me make props and such. But then when it came to wigs, like nobody really knew how. So I think I just sort of took that on as like, oh, this is my time to shine. And I just sort of like tried it. And then I just, I don't know, it made sense to me, or maybe I made it make sense to me because I was like, I gotta pull my weight here.
I love it though, that you found your purpose in terms of like your group and stuff. That's awesome.
Which sucks because it's like the weirdest purpose. Like I make hair.
You only got half a costume if you haven't got the wig, The wig finishes it. That's like the most important job.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, like when you're in a cosplay contest too, because like I feel like different people look for different things. Like you mentioned, you love props. Nipah, you mentioned like sewing was like your way into cosplay, and I find that like when it comes to cosplay contests, like judging with a group of people, like I'm always just like, oh, that wig was really on point, and everyone else is just like, oh, I didn't even look at the wig. I'm like, okay, but that's like all I kind of looked at, and someone else is like, oh, their seams were super on point. It's like, oh, I didn't really look at the seams, and somebody else is like, their prop was great, and we're like, oh, but like I think this other person's wig was better, so it's like comparing very different parts of a cosplay.
Wow, the person's prop was so intricate and detailed. Yeah, but like, what about this other person's wig though?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like again, like we all like are really drawn to different parts of cosplay, which I think makes like judging a cosplay super hard because it's like it comes down to like what are people looking for because it's so variable, right?
I think
Mm.
that's when you know you have a good group of judges is when you have a specialist of each category. Like let's say you have someone who's really good at prop making, armor making, wig styling, and sewing, and they're all a specialist in that. And then you can all narrow down this was and like if someone fits into like their favorite categories for each judge, then you know that person did amazing.
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
good point. Yeah, you could all like bounce off each other.
Van and I, we judge the cosplay contest at the convention that we run, and he is more craftsmanship oriented, whereas I'm a performer. So I judge I pay attention to the way that they carry themselves, the way that they act in character, their skits, and all of that stuff. Whereas he's paying attention to like whether they finish their seams, and I'm like, what's that mean?
Is it hemmed correctly? I love it. So us as a group would be like the perfect team to judge cosplays. I think we've got the wig master, we got the seams seams of people, we got the prop, and we got our performance queen as well.
The five of us need a book club, but the book
Hell
club
yeah.
is just begging Nipah to teach us how to do makeup.
Well, then there are people like Nipah,
Oh, yeah,
who's
we
like,
need a makeup girl.
but then there are people who
Oh,
like
boy.
are multi-talented too. Like Nipah's wigs are like super on point, and then like craftsmanship's really awesome, and like got the props too. So it's like, yeah, no, I think that like some folks come at it with like more, like some folks are like just I think instinctively more focused on certain aspects, and some folks are just like take from a number of different things and really focus on the whole thing as a picture. I find it so fascinating the variations of ways that people come to cosplay and focus on cosplay, and it's just it's so cool to me how like everyone brings a slightly different aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like how many and what kind of company you have going into cosplaying really determines what you focus on as well. Because if you join up with a group, then you're going to look to specialize in whatever the whole is. But if you're starting on your own, you really need to round out your skills.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
See, weirdly enough, though, I started with a group of my friends, but it was like they were coming to me. It was like, Gareth, I have this wig and I need this prop made, and I was like, oh my god, I'm one person. But no, like it is cool when you have a group and you kind of like assign roles to each other. Like that would be cool.
I do have one more question from the post, and I think that it's a really a good discussion one. So Kaylee asked, as someone who is a person of color, I've always been self-conscious about cosplaying the majority of characters and have hesitated in starting cosplay because of it. What is your opinion on that kind of thing?
I think well, okay, I'll first own my positionality here. Like I'm white, so I inhabit a world where like a lot of things are catered towards me, and I often don't have to worry about. I never have to worry about the color of my skin, and that's not fair. A lot of people. I mean, racism exists, racial prejudice exists, and so I can't speak from a position where I'm experiencing that at all. But I think that I think that people should be empowered to cosplay whatever they want to, and I think that we change a lot of ourselves when it comes to cosplay. Like if we could only cosplay a character of our exact demographics, such as race, height, gender, etc., then we would be left with one character to cosplay, and that's ourselves. So and that would be no fun because nobody ever exactly fits the character they're cosplaying. And that's kind of the point. You don't have to fit them in a specific way. And there are tons of cosplayers who are folks of color who cosplay all sorts of characters of differing skin tones, and they do an amazing job. Some of the best folks out there. And it sucks that we don't see as many non-white cosplayers celebrated in community at all. And I noticed that, and I think that's a problem. And I think if we had more folks of color being celebrated in the way that a lot of white cosplayers are, then I think that a lot of folks would feel more empowered to cosplay and to take part and to feel that they can do anything because people can.
Yeah, I totally agree with you
I
there.
completely, definitely, completely and totally agree with that. And it's not even just down to things like your skin color. I mean, I know people who've not done a cosplay because they think that they're too overweight for it, or they're not tall enough. And these are all things that, like, the point of cosplay is to have fun and to like to yes embody the character, but like at the end of the day it's an interpretation thing. So you can do it your way, and it doesn't matter if you think you're too big, or if your skin tone's not right, because that's not what cosplay is about. It's about having a fandom and wanting to express that through the art of costume making. So I definitely think, like, you shouldn't let that hold you back. And like what Twin was saying, like, there should be definitely more black representation when it comes to cosplay. And the only way you'll do that is by, if you are of a darker skin color, to do that, and to push through that, and to hopefully get the representation that you deserve.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
fully
like-
agree.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I fully agree with both you and Twin. When it comes to POC cosplay, there it a big of it chalks down to that there's not enough representation for them in general when it comes to any media, including animated. And unfortunately, a lot of the animated characters that a lot of people look up to are of a lighter skin tone, they're white, Asian, etc.
White, blue eyes, yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, but you shouldn't let that stop you. As I'm a big supporter of cosplay anything you want, no matter what size, body shape, color, etc., heritage. Like, if this is a character you love and you like have a connection with them, something as like skin color shouldn't stop you from celebrating that. But on the flip side, I've also had characters that I really love personally that are like that are POC, and like one of my favorite characters is like Scar from The Lion King, and I've thought of doing a Scar cosplay, but I also step back and I'm like, this is a African character, this is a African descent character, and anything I would do to it would be touching African culture, and I myself, this character wasn't. It's not. It's like it's a tricky like topic, but it's not. With my personal beliefs, I don't feel right cosplaying a POC character myself, because that's a character that is representation of something that barely gets represented at all, and it should. I don't know. It's a really weird topic, but for me anyways, I personally don't cosplay those of color because I feel it's not for me to represent, basically.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
we've got a sci-fi weekend coming up at work, and so we're all trying to work out like different sci-fi characters. And I really wanted to do something from Fifth Element. It's my favorite sci-fi film, and I would love to do Ruby Rod, but like I'm white as fuck, so I feel like I would definitely be stepping on toes if I even attempted to do that. And again, it's like you say, it's like that kind of character isn't for me to represent, and that there's a whole like plethora of white, blue-eyed characters I can do, and yeah, I feel like it would be wrong for me to kind of step on that and to step on toes about that kind of thing if I was to then do that kind of character, even if I think I'd be able to pull him off personality-wise.
Yeah, I'm always on the side of like if somebody has told me that something, because I mean this comes up a lot with like black facing, right, and brown facing, where I've seen folks defend that by saying that like, oh, but my friend is a person of color and doesn't mind that, and that might be true, but there are tons of people who absolutely do and are offended, and there's a long history of really deep-seated racism and horrible stuff attached to black facing and brown facing, and that it still exists. So then I choose not to do that because it has the potential to harm, and so why would I why would I want
Yeah,
to
exactly.
potentially harm somebody? And I think that that can be difficult for folks, because I think that for folks who look like me, right? So like we can think that like, oh, I'm being robbed of of a opportunity to cosplay a character I really like, but really I have to step back, as Nipah was saying, and look at like, but I have so much privilege here. Like so many characters look like me. Do I have to take this character too? And the answer, I believe for myself, the answer is no, and that I can still celebrate that character and celebrate people cosplaying that character, and that maybe that's my place there. And that I don't necessarily have to be the one dressing up as that character in order to love them.
And especially
Yeah,
with sorry.
no?
Especially with fandom, you get the opportunity of being able to see that character represented in a different kind of medium that you can share. Like if with Lion King in particular, I also love the Lion King, but I don't feel like I would be able to cosplay as a Gajinka of any of those characters, because it's not for me. But it's still the most important movie that I've ever seen in my life. It's very, very significant to me. But I can share different things that celebrate that media. I can celebrate. I can share pictures of other people's cosplays of those characters. I can share fan art of those characters. I can share clips of that film. I can still celebrate that medium and celebrate those characters without having to cosplay them, because cosplay isn't the only way to express your love for something.
Yeah, exactly that.
I have a question,
I don't know if
and it might be.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
It's all good. I have a question, and it might be comparing apples to oranges, but if it wasn't race we were talking about, but something like body type, would the answer be the same?
Would the answer in terms of like stepping back and choosing not to cosplay something be the same?
Right. If there was an overweight character who was really great representative for people who are of that body type, would you step back the same way that you would with a character of a different race?
I believe I would, personally, because it's still something. Having a character who's a larger body type that is positively represented in media is very rare. Usually they're the joke, usually they're made fun of, or they're sometimes even the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And to have a positive, like giving Rose Quartz from Steven Universe as an example. She's such a big hero and influence. Everyone loves her in the show, and she's this bigger woman. And if I would, and she's such a big representation to bigger girls out there and bigger people in general. So I myself wouldn't. It's the same type thing. It's underrepresentation, and I wouldn't want to take that from them by me being someone who is of a smaller body type doing something like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that it's also like feeds into like how I, as a person who's also smaller body type, would like represent that, and like would I then be taking the character and making them or representing them in a way that takes a lot from them, right? Because if the character is a really important character in terms of like representation of folks with bigger body types, then what does it look like for me to cosplay that? What message is that sending, either overtly or not overtly, to folks? I would be worried about doing that myself, and I would think about other ways to represent the character. There's also like the part of that goes into like, how do you make a character like accurate? So a lot of people will like want to make a character accurate in a lot of different ways, and I think that you get into a territory of being really disingenuous or offensive if you're changing certain aspects of your body as a person from a position of privilege to represent a body that is often oppressed, because it's sort of like, if you've seen a lot of the Halloween stuff around like, my culture is not a costume, it's like you can't just put that on for a day. Like there's a lot of hardship attached to that identity that you don't feel, and as wearing it as a costume, that can be problematic. It's yeah, I mean, I think that people will have really varying opinions on this, but I think what it comes down to is privilege and the responsibility attached to that privilege.
I'm a bit middle of the road on it. I feel like, especially with body modifications, is if you are trying to represent a character, but an important aspect of that person's character that's significance to culture is their body shape. I would say that it would be wrong to modify your body shape in some way to represent that. Like, don't wear a bunch of padding if you're cosplaying rose quartz to make yourself look bigger, like that kind of thing. That to me is that you don't do that.
Right.
That is actively wearing that person's body shape as a costume. But I also feel like when it comes to characters, particularly in the like Steven Universe-esque things where they're very significant role models, especially to young children. I feel like if you aren't modifying yourself for that purpose and you are representing what the character represents, then there's sort of fuzzy line there where I don't mind somebody wearing like the rose quartz dress if they're smaller, because that character could mean a lot to them, could have given them a lot of confidence. But if they start trying to modify themselves to look more like that body shape, then I feel like that's mocking what that character represents to people of that size, because you are wearing it as a costume.
Even if
so
it
it's
doesn't
whether you're
come off,
representing.
even if it doesn't come off as intentionally malicious.
Intent doesn't intent over harm
enough, but it still doesn't paint them in a very good light, and it like you said, it can, although they did it in like their intentions were pure and stuff like that, it can still upset someone that this person has modified their body.
There's a dog now.
Me too. That is my dog, sorry.
No, thank you for blessing us with your dog.
Thank you for dog.
He's playing with my cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
We got a cat and a dog in one podcast. This is officially all I've needed.
This podcast has been blessed.
Oh, I do agree with a point that I agree with a point that Hyde made. That it is important to note what intent is, because as a community, the internet as a culture has a tendency to blindly attack without realizing when something was a mistake, and not take into account that this person might just need to be educated. Like even just a few years ago, it wouldn't have occurred to me that wearing a darker foundation for a character, like not like dark faundation, but wearing like something that would turn you from white to a more Latino style of facial
face color.
Color. I wouldn't have even considered that to be strange at all until just a few years ago, when I noticed that there had been a controversy around it. And I feel horrible that this person was attacked so viciously because they were from a culture. They were from Europe, which Europe and Asian countries, it's not something that they think about a lot of the time. So I felt really bad that even though they had made an honest mistake, most people were so focused on tearing them to shreds and trying to like make it so that they could never function on the internet again, that they didn't even bother to try and tell them why it was wrong. So I think that intent does have a place, but
it's also like
can still hurt someone. Yeah.
And I think it's also the difference between like calling someone in and calling someone out. So like calling someone out is like, you messed up, you're a bad person. I'm gonna call out your behavior and put it on display. And calling in is more like reaching out and saying, I don't know if you know this, but this is how your behavior might be interpreted, or this is what the meaning of this thing historically, this is how it's impacted people. I don't know if you meant to do this or if you were aware of these things, but I'm going to give you that opportunity. Like, you should have that opportunity to learn about why this might be problematic or wrong, and then to be accountable for that, and to also then move on with more knowledge, right? It's inviting someone into the conversation instead of isolating them and saying, you've done a bad thing and you
That's
are
a hell of a
forever
lot
a
more
bad
effective.
person. Yeah.
I think when it comes to any type of modification, when it comes to your skin of any kind, a golden rule I go by is if I can never achieve that skin tone by a natural way, like if you were just outside for a long time and you tan and it gets that color, then it gets that color. But if you're unable to get there naturally, then you shouldn't do it. That's just my personal stand with it.
Yeah.
On how
it's good to have like a generalized rule for yourself on where your personal boundaries are.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have time for another question, or are we going over?
We
already?
have time for We've got time for exactly one more, because the recording will be cut down to about 3.5 after I cut out the very beginning.
All right. So I actually have this question copied, so I can paste it in. What was it? Oh, this was Hyde's question. So, have you ever been in a cosplay funk, and what did you do to overcome it?
The word was funk? Yes?
Funk. Yes.
Yeah, you know,
okay,
like
just making sure.
Like artist blog.
Oh, yes. No. Funk.
Funk.
I want to know what you thought that word was.
Oh, no. I've got a Disney mind. I was just clarifying.
Oh, okay.
Wait, did you mean like funk as in like disco, like funky time?
Have you ever been to cosplay
being
disco?
down on it, not being able to move forward with something that you wanted to, anything that would prevent you from having a good time with cosplay?
Like a cosplay mind block.
I think I had one recently because I recently started up my Patreon, and once you do that, once you do something like that, it's a big commitment, and you have these people who are now paying for your tutorials, your content. No matter how much it is, they're giving something back when you're giving something back to them. And I was in the midst of having a job that I worked 40 plus hours a week while also preparing to move across states. And so I wasn't able to push out as much content as I would have liked to do at that point in time. I felt really awful about it because I felt like I was letting so many people down, and that I was just being like some kind of awful person for accepting their money for things when I'm unable to push out as much content as I wish. And it got me into a really depressive state where I felt just really bad overall, just because so much of my life was happening. I wasn't able to focus on cosplay more. But luckily, after my move and everything, I was able to focus more. I got myself back up, and just different things reignited my love for the craft more. And we all go through like some kind of funk, some kind of thing where we don't believe that we're good enough or whatever, or we feel bad for whatever reasons. But I think that was my most recent personal one that I went through.
I think that I go through a cosplay funk maybe at least once a year, possibly several times a year. I think sometimes life can get in the way for sure. You can also just get burnt out too. It can be a lot of work to make costumes and go to cons and make content in whatever way you're doing that. If you are, it can really drain on you, and you can sort of stop enjoying what you're doing, and at that point it's hard to move forward from that. So I always try to take a bit of a break, or to refocus on something else, take a couple of breather days, because for me, I know the worst thing I've done to myself is to put myself in a situation where I hate the cosplay I'm working on, or I hate cosplay in general, or I hate going to cons because it's not fun for me anymore, and it has to be in a place for me in the way that I cosplay where it is fun. And sometimes that means taking a step back, or finding another another thing to do for sure.
Yeah, that's really, really true. I mean, I took a break off of going to cons and stuff because I was just it had kind of like stopped being fun. It was kind of like making the costume or coming up with something new was just exhausting. So, like you say, you burn out and you feel like, okay, you just have to take a step back, take a breather, focus on some of your other hobbies, like do something just to recharge those batteries and get those like creative like costume juices coming back again. And maybe it's just because of like the characters that you're cosplaying, maybe you've got a little bit tired of them if you're repeating several of them. So maybe you're just waiting for new inspiration too. I feel like that's definitely something that can put you in that kind of funk that uh, you've kind of like exhausted characters that you've seen a few times and that you're waiting for that new one to come out that you'll be like, okay, cool, I've got a new inspiration, I'm inspired again, let's go make something.
So something to like jolt you out.
I think what it comes to is you always need to have it in the back of your mind that no matter how big you get with cosplay, no matter how much followers you get, no matter what it is, that cosplay is first and foremost a hobby. Yes, some people can make it into a career and that it can be full time, but at first and foremost, for most people, it is indeed a hobby. This isn't your life mission. This is something that you're supposed to be able to do to make yourself happy, to get away from life's pressures and issues, and that you just need to sit back and be like, I cosplay because this is my hobby. This is something I want to do for like to enjoy myself. And once it gets to a point where it's not enjoyable, it's no longer a hobby and feels more like an obligation or a job. But you just need to always remember that it's costume play. It is just supposed to be a hobby for most people. And I know a lot of people want to turn it into a career, and that is by all means fine. I personally am trying myself to steer in that direction a little more as of late. But at the end of it, for most, it is a hobby, and you just need to separate it from it being an obligation rather than something for fun.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Because like we were saying, the second you're kind of like forcing yourself into making something, or you're forcing yourself to do it, you're gonna take the fun out of it. And like you said, like it's a hobby, it's cosplay. The idea is that you're meant to be having fun with this. And it's like most things where if they stop being fun, then maybe you should take a break from it and let it become fun again and not force yourself and make it so that you end up hating the thing that you once loved.
And you also have to think about, I think, like where it fits financially for you too. Like if you're not able to make rent, if you're not able to buy food because you're spending money on cosplay, like that's not doing you any favors, right? Like you're really putting your life literally in jeopardy for this hobby. So like, though it's very important, it's like a cornerstone in a lot of folks' lives. Like I know I found myself in this situation, especially when I was in college. Like if you're not able to live, if you're not able to like socially connect with people outside of cosplay, and it's costing you too much money, like that's not an you don't you sh- you shouldn't be in a position where you're needing to spend money in order to connect with other people and enjoy your time. Like you can't put that kind of strain on yourself. It doesn't work out in the end. It really puts you in a tight spot.
I totally agree with you there. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think one thing you can do to like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I know a couple people who because of their lives and they're trying to escape, they end up pouring literally food money into trying to get to conventions just because it's the only time that they get to interact with other people who understand them. And it's not worth the sacrifice.
Exactly. I mean, Yeah, at the end of the day, like it is a hobby, and you need to look after yourself, both in terms of like making sure that you're safe and that you're not doing anything that's going to damage you. And if you like, I'm reading in the comments, people are sacrificing meals for cosplay. I'm a little bit like, okay, that's you're letting it control you a bit too much there, and you definitely need to look after yourself first. And then this goes for any hobby. If it's like gonna do that much damage to you, then you definitely need to take a step back from that and get yourself right again. You know?
Like, there's a difference between you're at a convention and you get a little overexcited in the vendor's room and realize that, nah, you're gonna be eating cup noodles for the rest of the weekend, and making it part of your lifestyle.
Yeah, I think like first and foremost, make it make it worth it. Make it worth it to yourself. Make it worth it to, like, within the context of your lifestyle. Make it worth it among your friends. Like, don't sacrifice friendships for this because of cosplay quibbles or cosplay troubles for the sake of cosplay. Like, friends are way more important than that, and I've known so many friendships to fall apart because of issues to do with cosplay. So always make it a positive thing for yourself. If it's not positive, then it's not cosplay, right? If it's negative, then it's a whole nother beast.
That also kind of goes with if you have friends that cosplay, but they're kind of toxic in the sense of like they're teaching you bad things or they're kind of getting you to do bad things, then they're not really your friend. If they're going to be making you hurting yourself and stuff like that, or if they're going to make you sacrifice this stuff and make you feel bad, then they're not friends. Like we said, like you need to look after yourself. And if cosplay is a hobby and you're fine with making it a part of your life, then that's cool. But again, don't sacrifice yourself for that. Like make sure that you're keeping yourself happy, you're keeping yourself fed, and you're keeping a roof over your head. Like all of that stuff's more important.
I think that's a positive note. Just take care of yourself and enjoy what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And know that you're young, loved, and respected, and
valid and pure.
Exactly. And thanks to everyone who joined us on this chat and asked questions and commented and all that jazz. It was a fun combo.
Yes, thank you guys so much for coming out, and thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat as well. This was wonderful. We asked a lot of weird existential questions.
It got really deep and heavy, but I feel like we definitely
survived.
We survived it, and I feel like we've definitely touched on a lot of really good points that people are. I was looking at the little comments and people saying how they want to get back into cosplay and stuff like that. So I'm really, really happy that having these questions answered and having us answer them has kind of giving that new life back into the hobby that you were once part of or want to get part of. So that's fantastic.
Awesome. And then we start a book club.
We start a book club?
Yeah,
is this makeup and wigs?
It's just makeup and wigs.
I love it. Yes.
And by makeup, we mean Nipah is still Nipah Senpai telling us about
Yeah.
Yeah. We need makeup with Nipah.
But yes, thank you guys for having me and having this whole session. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for coming out.
It's been awesome.
All right. Any parting statements?
May your heart be your guiding key.
Yes.
There we go.
I don't think
oh no, I don't know
any
quotes.
Oh no.
I can't follow that up.
Well, you can't beat that though.
No, sorry.
Ultimate quote.
Nipah is senpai. He beat us all.
So now for my little ending spiel. We do have a cosplay guild that Gazzi runs here. I'll put a link in the chat if you are interested in talking about cosplay more or just connecting with other cosplayers here on the community. I'll have a link to that. Actually, I think I have it saved too. Yes, so there's the link right there. If you want to join that chat and just hang out with the other cosplayers that we have here. We do cosplay related challenges. Gazzi puts on adorable cosplay related challenges once a month, and we have a lot of people have come out to this, and I'm really glad that people seem to really enjoy hearing from all of us. Next Saturday, we're continuing with our I have to do a podcast every single Saturday for 6 weeks. Again, next week, Saturday at 1 p.m., which is the same time that this one started. 1 p.m. EST, we're doing a musicians podcast. We have Garrick Wheeler, we have Nya from the KH Music Club, and we have representative from Overclock Remix. They haven't told me who they're sending yet. We'll be here talking about music and how fandom music has influenced our lives and stuff like that. And that will be next week's podcast. So that's about my spiel. I will be uploading the recording of this podcast to YouTube and then posting a link both in on the Amino and also in the chat room once it's up. And that's my spiel. Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you so much. Have a good
you.
Saturday, everyone, or Sunday if it's super late night for you. I don't know. It's morning for me, so.
It's late evening here in the UK, so have a good evening to my
4:30 in the
Have a good dinner.
afternoon.
fantastic rest of your day. To all you Americaners over there.
Aren't time zones crazy?
I know, right?
Wow.
Like 6 hours ahead, I think, to
insane.
most of the guys here.
Every single week, somebody has come into the chat room and pointed out that one of my time zone calculations has been wrong. It's
Yeah,
a different one.
it was the
every week.
Pacific Standard Time.
Last week it was UK time that I was an hour off on. I'm wrong every single time.
Very confusing. We should all just be one time. The
Sometimes
13th hour
noon happens in
at
the
all
middle
One
of the night.
time.
Yeah,
The human
exactly.
race.
Exactly. I don't see any
All right,
problems with that, do you?
No matter what time it is for you, I hope you have a good whatever it is, morning, evening. Have a good day.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.